It is.
Okay. So I'm going to call the select board meeting to order on June 16th at 6:30 p.m. Welcome everybody, what a day, what a day. So we're going to start off with the continuation of the National Grid public hearing that we started on May 19th. As everyone will probably recall, one of the abutters to the poll that National Grid wants to put in. Okay, I am going to back to this. So we're going to start with quick public comment. So this is for items that are not on the agenda, and they should be quick and sweet because we cannot reply because they're not on the agenda. So anybody with a hand raised, Vanessa? Okay, anybody else that's here? Want to start off with something that's not on the agenda?
Just so you're aware, I'm on the line, National Grid Electric.
Okay, we're about to get to you, so hold on a second.
Oh, okay, sure.
Okay. Sorry, I started with the hearing, here's our public comment. So nobody, Vanessa? Okay, so now, here we go. So this is the continuation of the National Grid poll hearing that we started on May 19th. We continued it through last meeting and tonight. One of the abutters to the property, Mr. Coley, came to us and did not like the proposed position of the new pole. Mr. Pfaff agreed to meet with JDP and National Grid to see if we could come up with a compromise, which is my understanding we have. The diagram that was in your packet is that compromise. So it's my understanding that everyone is happy with the new location, but Andrew, I will turn to you to see if you agree with that.
Yes, I confirmed with John that he was okay. Basically, we moved it about 1,000 feet further up towards the school, basically in an area in which there's no direct abutters looking at the pole, so it's kind of in an open area.
Okay, so he's fine. I think he's not here tonight, so I assume no news is good news. So Ruben, is that you on Zoom? And Al?
Yes.
And Al?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
here. Al, correct, yep.
Okay, so both of you are there?
Yes.
Okay. So, assuming you guys agree with the new location, I think we're ready to go here.
Yeah, all set.
Okay, so you're fine with it? Okay. All right. Okay, so, anybody have any questions about the new location of the pole? Sam?
No.
Okay. Tim? Andrew?
No.
AD?
Good.
All right. So, you want to make a motion?
Do I need to reference the actual? I have it here. I move that we approve the National Grid poll petition number WR 312-79067 for the pole added to Parkerville Road.
Second.
That was Tim. Tim seconded. All right. All in favor of approving this poll? Okay, 5-0. All right, now I will make a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, so done. Thank you, Al. Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for working with us. All right, so next, so we have a joint meeting with the Library Board of Trustees. So once you get up here, you can call your meeting to order.
Okay, I cannot call the meeting to order because we don't have a quorum yet. So could we postpone it?
Is he coming?
We initially thought it would be 6:45. That's the word that I
Okay, so sure.
It was.
Okay, all right. So we move fast, Janet.
Quicker.
But David's coming, right?
It's coming.
Okay, all right. Yeah, you need 4 or 6.
He might be liaising with him outside.
Okay. All right, so let us know, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, are you the candidate?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Hello. Okay, so we will come back. Vanessa, how long is the wayfinding presentation going to take?
Probably about 15 minutes, but our consultant is not.
All right, so we'll go ahead and just do reports and do consent agenda until Dave Egbert gets here.
So David's not coming. I was just on the phone with him. Amy, as Danny, is going to
Zoom in?
Zoom in.
Okay, go Amy. Okay,
My apologies.
it's okay. All right, so now, we said 6:45, it's 6:34, so we're gonna go ahead and do a bunch of administrative stuff until we get to 6:45, unless Amy's ready. Is she there?
It's not public hearing, so you can go ahead.
Yes, that is her.
Where is she? I don't see her.
Amy, the red one.
Oh, there she is, Amy. Okay, Amy, can you bring her over, Vanessa? Yes, please.
Yep.
Okay, so Mary, come on. We're going to have room up here for everybody. So we're gonna have Jane come up here. So Amy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, do you want Jane to run the meeting, or do you wanna try to run it?
No, Jane can run it, Jane's the chair.
Amy's the coach.
Okay, so you're the chair. I didn't understand that. Okay, I didn't realize that, so.
The two of you
It's
just
nice.
sit up with
It's
them.
good.
So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 chairs for the board itself. Ryan will sit there.
You want us up
Do you want us here?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You gotta have a joint one here. This is your thing.
there? All my years.
Big chairs.
Yeah.
So Molly, you wanna come on up next to Ryan?
Hot seat.
Janet, you wanna?
Thank you.
So we got 4 chairs, so.
Is
Yeah,
this yes. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of the library trustees to order. And, I'm the newly appointed chair of the library trustees. And, we are putting forward Molly Schofield to be appointed to be to fill the open position of library trustee. Ryan Donovan, the library director, will introduce her.
Hi, everyone. So to my right is Molly Schofield. She's been a member of the Friends of the Southborough Library for several years. She's a regular volunteer at our library book sales. She's also a participant in a monthly virtual book club program that we run at the library, where she's definitely made me read some good books. She, I don't believe, has served in a town position before this, so she is new to this sphere, but she's very excited about serving the library for the next year, and we are hopeful that if she has an experience, she will run in the next election.
So it's Marguerite's seat that's vacant, right?
Correct.
And then, so we'll fill it until next May, and then there will be an election to fill that seat for how many years?
For 1 year.
That'll complete Marguerite's term.
Okay, so, Molly, do you want to say something about why you want to do this? What's your
Sure, no, I'm a lifelong library lover, and I've always been a member of the public library wherever I have resided, which has been Southborough for almost 10 years now. And I love the Southborough Public Library and like to be involved in a variety of ways, including as a volunteer and as a patron, and I've brought my family in as well to engage in activities there. Very big fan of the book club as well, and would really be excited about an opportunity to help serve the library in a different capacity.
So, do you guys have any questions, library board trustees?
Great bio for the job here, so,
What?
great bio for the job.
It is great bio. So, you just want to select board to see if you have any questions?
Yes, if you have any questions for Molly.
All right, so Sam, you want to start off?
Oh, but again, I think it's, you got a great background for it, and I'm delighted that you're interested in doing this, so thank you for volunteering.
Tim?
I have no questions for you right now, so you have a great background. Thank you.
And I don't have any questions. I support your appointment, and I appreciate you taking the time to come in person and participate in this meeting and making yourself available. Thanks.
My only question, I think Ryan said it was, you would be willing to get elected if, you know, if it goes well between now and May and you want to throw your hat in the ring, you're not opposed to that?
If people were interested in that, if there is, yes.
So, it's a great group. We know them all very well, and they do a great job. The library, as you know, is probably, if not the most popular, one of the most popular departments in town. When you do surveys, everybody loves our library and loves all the things we do. That little building, all that comes out of it. So, I think you'll enjoy doing this. Amy is great too. So, I think you're gonna like your fellow trustees. Okay. All right. So, are you guys fine?
Yeah, we're happy.
Yeah.
We hope that
Molly's terrific.
everyone else is happy too.
So I don't know why this is a joint appointment, but it is, and so we're just gonna take a vote, and I assume, and we're just gonna, if it's unanimous, if it's majority, then it's all done. Why does the board of trustees have 6? Do you guys have tie votes pretty much?
No, so it's actually in Mass General Law is that trustee boards are multiples of 3. So it is, I think Westboro actually has 12, so they also have an even number. So it's just odd that sometimes happens. Hudson, I know, has 3, so it just varies from community to community. But we have 6 if there's a tie vote, the chair breaks the tie. So Jane now has enhanced powers. Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Well, you know, 3 is too small because 2 people can't ever talk. 12 is too many, it's too unwieldy. So 6 probably sounds, if you gotta do multiple of 3, it's probably the right multiple. 9's a lot too, if we learned. Okay, with that, Jane, do you wanna make the motion to appoint Molly?
I would like to make the motion to appoint Molly to the interim position for 1 year, to be followed by a potential run for election in 1 year, in May of 2027. Should we vote or are you voting?
We're just all gonna vote together, because there's really nothing that says exactly how we do this. Second.
Second, thank you, Janet.
Janet Maney seconded, or Bridget is our minute taker, so she's listening to all this, so trying to make sure that she sees who does it. Okay, so we've got a motion and a second to appoint Molly as the replacement for Marguerite, to fulfill her term.
We make the same motion, I think we probably should.
Okay.
You know, actually,
we run
I
the
think
meeting.
this is really like technical, but I think actually there should be separate votes. I mean, it's gonna pass, so.
Okay, all right, so you guys go ahead and vote.
Do we need to
So
do it
we need
individually?
to do roll call for the library trustees. Trustee Maney,
Aye.
trustee Kinty,
Aye.
trustee Yasdani,
Aye.
and trustee Davis, aye. So it
Okay, so
passes.
4-0. Okay, so I'll make a motion on behalf of the select board to appoint Molly to fulfill Marguerite's term, for the last year.
Second.
All right, all in favor for the select board? Okay. So, unanimous, Molly.
Thank you.
Welcome, Molly.
I'll just very quickly add, Molly did come to the last trustees meeting, and we didn't scare her off. So I think that was a good sign.
It is a good sign.
So you're on Friends also, you're part of Friends?
Yes,
That's great.
yes.
That's great.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adjourn? Jane? Adjourn?
Oh, the,
You have to adjourn.
the meeting of the library trustees is adjourned at
6:42.
6:42. Thank you.
Definitely our quickest meeting.
So Vanessa, is Whitney here now? All right, so we're gonna just keep going till you tell me she's here. Because I don't want to jump to the tricentennial when Don's not here either. Patty's here, Don's not, until we know that, she's here. Okay, so we'll start with chair's report. So, my report is basically, we had our goal setting meeting last Monday night at the Public Safety Building. There was a lot of input into that goal setting meeting. We had 2 members that had quite a few goals, so we pared it down, I think, pretty good. So we've got a reasonable list of goals that I think we can accomplish if we roll up our sleeves. Some of them are a little challenging, big picture, but so we've got a work cut out for us. Anybody want to make a comment about what we did specifically? Sam?
Good exercise and a lot to do.
So Andrew, is this the 6th year we've done this? Maybe? I mean, it started before I was on the select board.
I think it started when I was on the board early on, in the second year maybe, something like
I know Marty Healy was on it when you did it, one person, so anyway. All right, so, we need to get those posted on the select board webpage, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that people can see what we're trying to accomplish. Okay, and anybody else have a member's report
Oh, could I have a question? Can I just ask a question about one of these, or not?
about a goal?
Yes. I just
Go
want a
ahead.
clarification what it means.
Okay, members' reports normally we don't question, but go ahead.
I'm Mary Ann Anderson. I would like to know what you mean by explore all versions of means tested relief, including STWO expansion. What does STWO mean?
Senior tax work-off.
Excuse me?
Senior tax work-off.
Okay.
Is that okay? Okay, anybody else have a member's report? Nobody? All right, Mr. Purple?
Just quickly, want to let you know, I've been in contact with Representative Donahue's office this week on a couple of issues. The most important one is that the special act for the additional liquor license for Costco continues to move forward. There has been some language that the House Counsel has drafted similar to ours, but it does tweak things a little bit. Does not change the overall intent of the article. Gives us 2 years in which to award the article, so to speak, and to assign it. And then if the license at some point in the future does go dormant because of a change, if we don't reassign it within 3 years, it goes back to the legislature. So there is a little bit of a sunset clause if in fact it is not being used after it is initially assigned. Hopefully we're not going to have to worry about that at all. The other piece of that is that and I will get all of the information, but the committee who is hearing, the House committee who is hearing this and taking this up with a lot of other special acts is doing so on June 23rd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the afternoon. They recommend if you're going to send any testimony, you do it in writing. So I'm happy to work with the chair or, a member if there's, so assigned to put together a letter just to submit, something supporting this special act so they can have that on file. That's really all I've got.
I would think that this is going to pass easily, but just in case, the letter can't hurt, right? So I think we should, at every chance we get, reiterate how important this project is to the town. So I do think we should send a letter.
Okay. So why don't I put a draft together and then I can work with you to get that taken care of.
Anyway. All right, so we've got a big consent agenda tonight. Any holds from A to N?
I also have a hold on A.
Okay, specifically?
June 2nd.
All right, I got June 8th.
2nd and 8th for me.
Okay, so 29th are okay for you guys?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
C, I thought that we should certainly acknowledge
I
this.
agree, so I was hoping, so yeah, hold C. Okay, anything else? Anybody? What, M?
Yep.
M?
Yep.
M is in Mary, right?
Correct.
Okay. I want to hold L also. Okay, so we've got the last 2 sets of minutes for A. We've got the St. Mark's donation C. We've got Mark Robideau's contract in L, and then we've got the police department bottom line spending in M. Is that it? All right, so I will make a motion to approve consent agenda items D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, N, and then the May 29th, 2026 minutes in A.
Second.
All in favor?
You listed B as one of those items, right?
I meant to. I hope I did. So you think I missed B when I just did the
I
motion?
may have not been paying attention as much
Well,
as I
I
should.
meant to say B. I can't swear I did it. Okay, so I'll make a motion just to make sure that we approve item B in the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. All right, so minutes, guys. Those who held the second?
Well, I have one on June 2nd.
Okay.
Pretty simple one. If you look at line 150, it refers to the town's 350th celebration in 2027. It should be 300.
What line, Andrew?
Line 150.
Okay.
That's it.
And I had lines 58 and 60, Mr. Wynot's name is misspelled. And line 81, I don't think it's St. John Street, isn't it John Street?
Correct. It's just, yeah.
So that was it for me on June 2nd.
Okay. We're still on June 2nd, right?
Yeah.
And you said line 58?
58 and 60.
Steve's name.
Oh, so you got Steve's name fixed?
Mr. Wynot.
Okay. How do you fix it? W-H-Y?
W-H-Y-N-O-T.
So W-H-Y-N-O-T.
Correct.
You're talking really soft. I'm just trying to make sure Bridget hears what you're saying.
Yep.
Okay? All right, so W-H-Y-N-O-T. So that's the first one. What was the second one?
58 and 60, then line 81, John Street instead of St. John's.
I've got 7 minutes ago. Here it is. I do. Okay, all right, so anything else on June 2nd? June 8th?
On line 4, Ms. Landry and Mr. Hamilton were not at that meeting. Should be Stivers and Pfaff.
Good point. Really?
A little cut and paste.
That's substantive, yeah. Okay, all right, so Bridget, Marguerite, and Al are not there, and our 2 new members are there, Sam Stivers and Andrew Pfaff. Okay? Good point.
I've been removed quicker than that sometimes.
Okay. Anything else on the 8th, Sam?
Nope.
Andrew?
No.
All right, so I've got something silly. So look at line 21. It says the I is missing for identify. And then this one's really silly. At the end of line 34, members will have the opportunity to clean up and clarify their goals. So that's my only 2. That's it? Everybody agree? All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the amended minutes for June 2nd and June 8th, 2026.
As amended.
What's that?
As amended.
I said amended. I did say it that time. All in favor? Okay. C, as Andrew said, is very important. We already knew this. They had already told us this, but we got the check now, so I think it's worth reiterating the generosity of St. Mark's School. The $102,500 bought a new police vehicle, and the rest of it was put into the general fund to offset general fund expenses that, of course, apply to them, which is roads, etc. All I'm going to add to that is, I think some of us on here wish state law would fix this, so we didn't have to do this all the time, and schools would be on the same playing field and not have to compete about this. But I just don't. From what we've been told, the bill that's been sitting in committee for a long time now is not going to go anywhere. There's just too much lobbying, etc., by the big schools in town to persuade the legislators to do anything about it. I wish they would, right? But they don't. But anyway, thank you, St. Mark's, for that. Thank you for letting us use your fields for the food trucks, and thank you for all the other things you do. Okay, so I held Mark Robideau's new contract. And I just wanted to explain to make sure everybody understands why we're doing this. When we recruited Mark Robideau to Southborough last year, we needed to pay him more than our SAP allowed for that position. So the solution was to do a contract. That position is not one that the state specifically lists as far as one that you can do a 3-year contract for. So it has to be a 1-year contract, or else you'd have to go to town meeting to get this approved. So we've elected to do the easier thing, which is just to do a 1-year contract each year. The only change from last year's contract to the one that's in front of you is the salary, which is an increase of 3%, which is what he actually proposed, Mark, correct? So that's it. So it's what, $72 and change an hour. So $140-something thousand a year is his salary. So I don't know about you guys, but I am really glad Mark Robideau is here. I think he's here just in time, Costco, etc. So I do think he is doing a great job. So I just wanted to point that out as far as why we're having to approve his contract when he just started last year. Okay. All right, so I'll make a motion to approve Mark Robideau's new contract beginning July 1st, 2026, running through 6/30/27.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, Tim, you held M.
Yeah, I just was curious about what the items were that were over budget. Just because it's $128,000 or $118,000. So I think the chief, I saw his name here. I don't know if you can speak to that.
So Vanessa, can you bring over Chief Newell? So when he comes over, why don't we see that on the screen?
How are you guys?
We're fine, we're fine. Were you watching because you thought we might question this?
No, I just want to be available. I had a few items on the consent agenda, so just in case, I just wanted to be available.
So we approved all the other ones, so this is the one that was held as far as your request for bottom line spending. And the question for Mr. Fling is, what are the items that you're trying to cover with the salaries that we will budget?
Sure. This is the first year that we've actually asked for bottom line spending. Every year we've remained in our budget, and we've actually put back about 6 figures to the town due to unfilled positions. And that still will be the case this year. We're still going to be turning back close to another 6-figure item, because we had unfilled positions, and we also had the support and incentive grant to pay for a lot of the dispatch overtime that we had. But the items themselves are all items that we are going to need or currently need at this point in time, which include our AED batteries that are at the end of their 5-year lifespan, med bags, our ballistic helmets and plates that go on the vest inside the cruisers, which the officers throw on if there's ever like a rifle fight or anything like that, if there's heavy weaponry. All of those are expiring or have expired. We know it's going to be a tight fiscal year next year, and these are all items that we have, that we need. We have a door repair that has to be repaired that we're responsible for, because when we got the new building, Signet was put under our control, and the mechanism inside the door is not functioning. That was about $7,000. Cruiser maintenance, and we also wanted to start up our drone program. So that's something that we really want to get going on. So we have an estimate for that, and that's why the amount was so high.
What's the drone cost for this one? And do we have to get an American drone? Did that make the price of this go up? I know that was a discussion we had before.
Yes, it did. It's a 5-year plan, all the bells and whistles, warranties, a refresh of the actual hardware. So 2.5 years in, they'll give us a new drone. Everything you can think of, from storage to features on the drone itself. I have 2 officers that are already trained as drone pilots. I was able to get them some training for that. So it's one of those things that once we get the program up and running, we'll actually get the drone here, we'll be able to get it up and running fast. So we actually had a situation, an unfortunate situation, where we could have used it, that incident on Crystal Pond Road. We had to wait for Westboro Police to get there with their drone unit. You know, there's multiple cases that I could give you that it would have been very helpful to have at our disposal. So.
Just out of curiosity, did you plan for the replacement of the AED batteries and the other wear components? Were they already planned for, or was that just like a missed item?
That just came up where our officers were doing their cruiser checks, and they were seeing that they were running low. So it's at that point where they need to be replaced, and we just never want to have one not available when we need it. So
okay.
Most of the time we're first on the scene, just because our officers are out there on patrol, and we've had to take those out a few times. So.
Yeah, it's life-saving stuff. I just was curious about if it was planned or unplanned.
Yeah, I mean, I did sit down with Mark beforehand and go over the list, and just, you had a chance to look at it. There's nothing unusual, or there's nothing on this list that we wouldn't need. So.
And then you said, do we have a lease, or will be a lease situation on the drone? So do we have to pick that up then in 5 years to maintain this? Is that how this would work?
So it is 5 years, and it's I'm not exactly sure. At that point in time, we could reassess, or we could find another way to do it. You know, have the fire department join us. It could be a grant that comes up near the end. But as of this point in time, then most likely yes. But we're going to have a brand new drone about 2.5 years into this lease. So we could always use the drone and then get to the point of what we need at that point at the end of the 5 years. So.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So Hey, Pete, don't you have something? We've talked about this before. So, Chief, if you hadn't had the excess funds in the salary lines because of people who left unexpectedly, once because of the people you were hiring, because that was expected and that was budgeted correctly, then what would you have done?
I would have turned, you mean the money that's already in there?
Yeah, if you didn't have the excess money in the salary lines to be able to try to redeploy it with the various things you listed, what would you have done?
I would have had to go to capital and then just wait. But obviously, at this point in time, it's these are the things that we need, you know. So.
Should he still go to capital, Mark?
So the one item in this whole list, and I think the chief would agree, obviously is the drone, right? And the cost of the drone. That trips the capital policy. So he's already requested a meeting with capital because they had looked at this before, I think, when we were looking at buying a non-American made drone. Significantly cheaper, but obviously there were security issues. So now that the conversation has changed and the dollar amount has gone up, he's requested a meeting with capital to try to get them to issue their recommendation in the hope that this is something that we could get done before the end of the fiscal year.
But they approved it before, we just took it off. It was on the capital list, and then we took it off.
Not the American one, the DJI one.
The dollar amount was significantly less.
Right. I understand, but they did approve the concept of a drone. I don't know that they would have really weighed in on whether it's 10 or 30. They approved the need for a drone, right?
I think it's like 10 or 50, right? What's the drone line item?
It was 10 versus 30 when we were in January, right, Chief?
I'm sorry, it cut out for a second. Yeah, it was, they had approved it, there was a discussion and they had approved it, and then I let them know that I was actually waiting for the court decision on the Chinese technology and whether or not you had to buy American or that one. So once that came back, then we realized it has to be the American made drone. So.
But what's the differential between American and a Chinese drone?
In price?
Yes.
Yeah, probably like 70,000.
So of this $120,000, 70,000 of this is a drone.
No, 105.
So 108 from the police budget and 9999, which is 10 grand from the dispatch, $118,000 total.
Yes. So I separated out because I have the two budgets under, one's under this. We separated them out. The medical stuff, the med bags, tourniquets, AED batteries were all coming from the dispatch budget, and then the others were going to come from the police.
Okay, can we do this one more time? How many drones?
Just one.
And the cost of a drone with the American technology made here is?
105.
Okay, because when we met in January, that was not the number that we used. We used 30 back then. Maybe you just didn't know it, which is fine. I don't know. Yes, we're looking at a pretty bad budget year, fiscal year 28, no doubt about it. Right now we think it's a $2 million deficit. But what I don't want to encourage is for necessarily items that would have been in that budget to be moved to this one just because you've got some capacity to do it because there's a salary line that didn't get totally used because of a vacancy. I understand the need for a drone, but I don't know how long it took Westport to get there. So, again, is this not something that we could share with other towns and accomplish the same thing? I don't have the answer to that. So, I don't know. I'm actually not ready to do this tonight. I do want you to go back to capital and run this by them because going from 10,000 to 100,000 is a big change. And they really should weigh in on whether this is something we should do, whether we should try to share it with an adjacent town before we do this. We still got time.
It was 30,000 when I had first gone to Capitol.
Yeah.
So it was 30,000 at that point, and then this was the most recent estimate from the company that we use for our body-worn cameras and our tasers. And that includes, like I said, everything that we would need to have a fully functioning drone unit. And just to stress, we probably are the only town around here that doesn't have a drone unit. I still will be returning almost 6 figures to the town from, like I said, the support incentive grant from dispatch and from we had one unfilled position for a few months on the police side.
But does Capital know we're having this discussion tonight?
I reached out to Jason Malinowski. I haven't had a chance to figure out a meeting with him, but I can still meet with him. My just concern is I just wanted to make sure we could get this within the fiscal year as well.
I understand, and we don't have another meeting scheduled after tonight, except that I think we are going to have to call a special meeting about something else. But to me, this flies right in the face of what Capital's supposed to do, so I have an issue with doing this without.
Can we approve the AED items tonight and just hold this one?
Yeah.
So
We can do anything we want to do. We can approve the whole thing, we can approve none of it, we can approve part of it.
So I'd be willing to make a motion to approve everything that the chief is asking for as a bottom line spending minus the drone.
I'll second that.
You okay with that? You're okay, Sam? Okay. All right, so the motion's been made to strip out the drone from the request and approve everything but the drone. Okay, and deal with the drone separately when it's gone through the procedure it should go through. Okay, so you second? Okay, all in favor?
I still want to help the chief.
I do,
Equipment
but
needs, but I agree with the process and concern you expressed.
Yeah, and this is part of a big contract with the vendor too that I think we need to assess too, Chief. I know we talked about, maybe we can add an ALPR camera for the DPW as part of our thing, and then the cameras that are on the school buses can also be incorporated into the technology and the software. So I just don't know if that adds any additional costs. So just making sure as we're looking at that big contract that all the pieces are in there that we want.
Yeah, there's the more we bundle, the more the cost is going to go up, and this is something that I looked at as I have the money in the budget. I'm still returning 6 figures. This is an identified item that we need. And like I said, perfect example was the Crystal Pond Road incident. That's all I have to say. Trying to get us the tools that we need, and that's what it comes down to.
well, we want you to have the tools you need, that's never a question, but we do need to respect the process. When you've got a capital asset, it needs to start with capital. They need to vet it, ask all the questions, and then make a recommendation to support it or not. So we'll get this done.
And I think philosophically, ideally it goes to town meeting unless there's an emergency need, and that's a reserve fund transfer. So I think that's the process we go for these kinds of things.
Yeah, and we normally don't like to bring money to special town meetings, but we're going to have one in the fall for sure. So if we thought this was appropriate to put on there, we could, but if not, it's going to be March. It sounds like as far as when you're going to actually get it considered. Okay, so everybody's okay with this, right?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. All right, so thank you, Chief. Vanessa, we're ready? All right, so the next thing on the agenda is we are going to have a presentation from Stantec Consulting from Whitney about the wayfinding work that has been done thus far. Vanessa, you want to come up too? Vanessa has been very involved in this. Hi, Whitney.
Hi, should I kick off?
Excuse me?
Should I go ahead and kick off?
Could you go and take off? Well, let Vanessa get seated and.
Okay, she said kick off.
All right, so we've got your presentation in front of us. So yes, we are turning it over to you right now.
Cool. Thank you. I'll go ahead and share screen and talk through a few pieces. I don't have this kind of face on screen, but nice to meet you all. I'm Whitney Bird. I'm a communication planner with consulting firm Stantec, based in Boston. And we were brought on through the Massachusetts Downtown Initiative program last year to work with the town to develop a first-time wayfinding study. And we've been working for the past several months and just finalized our draft reports a few weeks ago, and are now looking to wrap up the project and get the town ready to pursue the additional wayfinding phases to come to be able to fully implement the proposed system. So let me go ahead and share on the screen and hope this go. All right, it looks like I'm up there. So I'll just talk through kind of generally our process finish, give you a few highlights. Maybe starting off firstly with our schedule. We commenced this project in end of January. These are pretty quick turnaround projects generally through the state, with the goal of providing technical assistance to communities, in this case with wayfinding focus. And our process included a few different touch points through community outreach, through public surveys. We involved a working project management, wayfinding project management group rather, to provide guidance at different points through the project as well. And those folks were representative of different institutions through the town as identified with the help of Mark and Vanessa. The pure purpose of our study was to analyze these 3 select wayfinding typologies and an overall comprehensive system. There are many types of typologies included, but these 3 were a particular focus. Directional signs, those which are putting an arrow, of course. Gateway signs, those which are using a larger format to signify an entrance into a downtown boundary, for example. And then informational signs, which are more pedestrian focused and provide a higher level of information. So this was really the purpose of our overall analysis, to both conduct an existing inventory of signs today for these typologies, as well as to identify where recommended signs should go if we were to completely replace all existing town-owned signs today and start from fresh. And some of the key goals of really going through this effort, just pull up quickly on the screen here, is multi-pronged. First and foremost, to make visitors aware of key destinations. We do these studies with the assumption that GPS does not exist and that we will always live in a time where those are reliable, and also just wanting to promote awareness for both unfamiliar visitors as well as local visitors or local residents as well, and just promote more awareness of some of the destinations that are available in downtown Southborough, and especially enjoying the timing of this project to tee up for the Tricentennial next year. Pursue this effort as kind of low-hanging fruit for injecting a little bit more cohesion to the downtown through a shared signage system and promoting again those destinations. And this is just an example of kind of overall what we would generally recommend in the community to make sure that all the wayfinding systems speak to each other, with recognition that the different signs target different users, that there's different levels of information appropriate to different users, and trying to keep everything consolidated as possible. We conducted our signage inventory targeting this black dotted boundary, which we defined as the downtown for the purposes of this study. And we did that using a geocoded database capture system to be able to map these accurately and assign them different identification codes to be able to, so the town can use this resource as a tool in the future as they're analyzing or proposing individual signs to be upgraded or replaced. And this map shows today how many signs are out there on the ground for those 3 typologies that I mentioned. Just interesting to see kind of what we're dealing with in terms of where signs are clustered, where they may be located in relation to destinations. And so you see that we've got 45 signs today overall. And to clarify, pulling up this photograph, directional signs in particular, we've also identified not only the town-owned signs, but those which are owned by DOT and also private establishments, because it helps us get a better understanding of what information is available out there, whether it's being consistently named, where people being directed to, where there are potential gaps for navigation. And the next part, as I mentioned before, we had a couple of different touch points with the community. We had the project management group, which we met with earlier this spring to ultimately help us develop a destination list. And maybe I'll skip to that actually right now. Or perhaps I won't. I'll come across it. To develop a destination list of all the destinations in Southborough that we'd like to have featured on signs, which then helps us go through our methodology of how to navigate and how to recommend our sign positionings. Then we also had another touch point in May to discuss the design of the signs. Another key purpose of this study, and that was critical information to help us kind of refine a preferred approach for the town to move forward with in regards to how the signs might look. And then our 2 surveys with the community also kind of mirror the similar approaches for gathering specific information. Based on, here we go, here's our destination list that we developed with the project management group to decide which destinations should be included on signage. And you'll see that these are categorized by general categories such as government, historic, recreational destinations. And again, this is a good starting point for us to be able to identify how people would route to these different destinations, where are those critical turning points, and where is information needed for users of different modes. So there's other information kind of on that process in this report. You'll see here that we've identified some recommended signs in particular to start off with the understanding that the town may not be able to pursue fabricating and installing these all at once, but over a recommended phasing period of time. And this is a little bit more. So these are vehicle directional signs. We have kind of 2 scales for vehicle and also pedestrian, and the difference really is just the size as well as the information that is included on them. The pedestrian directional signs you'll see here are a little bit more clustered right in the core, where we want to be promoting more walkability between the downtown blocks and awareness between those different destinations, and also with consideration of existing infrastructure, today sidewalks and crosswalks to make sure that there is safe movement for people. And then our last typologies recommended are the gateway sign. Again, those larger scale ones to indicate a welcoming to a downtown boundary approach. And we've presented 2 different options here. This first option where we've got free signs kind of out at the edges as you're entering into the town from those 3 different key access points, 85 and 30 on either end. Or we have option B, which is just to have a more prominent singular gateway sign just in the core of the downtown center. And then these are accompanied by a handful of informational signs. Again, those are ones that are directed to pedestrians with a bit more information, and those could look somewhat like a static sign with a map, for example, or they could also be like some of the kiosks that we see in some communities today with some digital options. And then moving into the design process, this was really useful as well, and this is a great opportunity for the town as these processes are somewhat happening separately in other communities, but we were able to kind of tackle these both together and concurrently. So we talked through a lot of best practices earlier on in our study to think about kind of the benefits of legibility, think about recognizability in terms of an identity for the town and some of the signs that are out there today, and how we either want to improve or build upon some of what's out there or completely reinvent the signage to demonstrate Southborough's character in a different way. We also talked about best practices in terms of typography, appropriate sizing based on distances so that it's legible for all people. We talked about the hierarchy of information on signs, and that best practices is to identify maybe primary versus secondary destinations and really organize the information in a way that it can be processed quickly. And then we started looking into some of the potential design components. We looked at different sign shape options that were inspired by some of the features in the town. We looked at the sign colors. What would the colors look like in different combinations if we were using these larger blocks of colors as the background, for example, and these smaller colors for accent colors. These were also inspired by various components of the town architecture, some of the signs today, the natural features. And then we looked at potentially a symbol, and this is something that would be completely separate from the town seal, but how do we want to have a symbol or logo or motif integrated onto a sign to create that quick recognition as being associated with the town. And then finally, we looked at typefaces, again, to go back to the point about legibility, and especially here thinking about, do we want the lettering to look more historic, more modern, something in between. And after discussing all these options, we put together a package of what some of those examples might look like together. And these were developed as just an early concept and were then further refined after discussion with the project management group, with these options on the right. And these were the options that were ultimately presented for final vote for preference through the community survey last month. And based on those responses, this was the preferred design approach that we had shared. And this includes one of the sign shapes that you saw, the options, more of the green-based approach, which speaks more to the natural feature, the greens and blues. This motif, which has been slightly redesigned to reflect the tower and the cemetery, and some other symbology that's reflective of the town's character and other features. And then this also just demonstrates sample language of the destinations that would be included on signs in terms of going back to that hierarchy, these larger letters being associated with the primary destinations, secondary destinations, still important, but shown indented. So there's just a different level of detail. We've also recommended walking distances, and this is the pedestrian directional sign, so that's going to be especially important here. And then just opportunities to potentially include a town website or other information such as parking symbols or other symbols in the future. And then we developed the other typologies that were being analyzed as part of the study to show what that design approach might look like, carried across all typologies, so you can kind of see it as a more cohesive family system of signs. And this gives you a rough estimate of what the dimensioning might look like, although we aren't doing any final dimensionings as part of this effort. And then here's just a quick mock-up example of what one of those signs might look like in reality. And of course, there's going to be future siting considerations and analysis to be done following this effort. All those details still to be determined, but hopefully this helps give a better understanding of how it could function and how it might blend with the character of downtown. And then just last quick minute just to speak to, we also included a lot of information in this final report about what comes next. This is a great first step to get the system rolling, but there's of course things to make it happen in actuality in terms of getting that engineering analysis completed, getting approvals coordinated within the town, making people aware or institutions aware and getting their consensus for how they're being named on signs, finalizing any naming, and then basing the system over time. We've recommended kind of a 3-year approach here with focusing this first year really on just completing that further engineering analysis, connecting with some potential fabricators to get some estimates, and perhaps conducting a pilot of one of the signs just to test it out in person, see if there's any design refinements or any other issues that want to be addressed at that time before pursuing the whole system. We also have some information here that's hopefully helpful as a resource to the town for costs to be estimating throughout that entire process, whether it's material, other planning or outreach, other implementation. We have a couple funding options that have been identified, and perhaps Vanessa would like to speak to in a second about their recent grant, which is a grant application, which will be trying to pursue the next phase of this effort. And then finally, some other details about conducting a pilot, best practices for working with fabricators, and maintaining communications with the community while the process is ongoing. So a lot of information in here. That's a lot of me talking, but we're really excited to see how this has all come together. There's been a lot of great feedback and input, and we feel like we've gotten to a great place of positive excitement about where this is heading, and we'd love to answer any questions for you.
Thank you, Whitney. Thank you, Vanessa. So let me just kind of jump to what I think is the practical question here. I think those sounds so great, but I thought, although I couldn't imagine how we could do it, that we were trying to get this done for the tricentennial. But that clearly says that's probably not realistic, right?
Right. It's a much longer process. Going through the 3 phases. If anything, I think our hope would be the end of 2027. But as Whitney said, that depends on the grant cycle. It took us 2 years of going through the one-stop grant program to get the grant for phase 1. That's what we're wrapping up now. We've put in another application for next year's one-stop, for the fabrication in phase 2. So it's a little bit of a longer runway here than we first thought.
All right, so go back over what you just said. So the one stop that just went in for phase 2.
Yes.
We're going to hear in October.
October, yes.
Okay. And then are the funds immediately available at that point?
I think they are, because when we started our conversations with Stantec, we worked out signing the contract, etc. It was probably early winter by the time we started that.
Okay, so let's be optimistic and assume we get that grant, right? Then what is that grant going to fund?
So that would fund the fabrication and the engineering, agreeing on all the locations, the exact, content of the signs, costing out the specifications. Is there anything else you would add in there, Whitney, for phase 2?
Yeah, I'm getting specification drawings to a fabricator, so kind of you have all the pieces in place to get something set up right away, and you may have the potential to be able to at least get a prototype sign or 2 fabricated in that early round.
But it doesn't pay for the actual fabrication of all the signs.
Correct.
Okay.
Because there will also be construction costs in addition and to be identified.
And getting approvals, from this board and, any other board where, there might be a sign outside the library, working with the library trustees to get their feedback and so forth.
So we really haven't discussed the process. I know how hard you tried to get people involved in this. I give you so much credit. So we haven't really discussed the process to truly finalize these recommendations, correct? Okay, so I think the select board needs to put this on an agenda, soon, to really try to stipulate a process, whether we turn it over to the historic commission, or whatever, to truly get to the point we really know what we want to do, right? And then if we could get that done over the next few months, then by the time the grant is approved, we hope, then we really may be ready to go forward, right?
Right. And I do want to thank Kevin Miller. He's been an enormous help to me and Mark through this whole process. And
well, I was trying to look at him when I said he looked to the historic commission and he looked away. So Kevin, do you want to say anything about the process?
I would, if I can. I'll try to be quick about it. Kevin Miller, 18 Lattisclaw, chair of the Historical Commission and speaking on behalf of the Historical Commission. We were supportive of this project from the very beginning and wrote a letter for the grant application. And I just want to sort of second what Kathy was just alluding to, how, at the risk of embarrassing Vanessa, how fantastic she's been through this, and you all know what an asset, everybody sitting up at the table here knows what an asset Vanessa is. And one thing I've appreciated was the outreach, actually. I attended the first sort of ad hoc working group meeting in, what was that, in March?
yes. Yep.
And there was a very broad spectrum of town people there representing different groups and organizations. And that was a very good meeting. I wasn't able to make the second one because I was ill, actually, but then Vanessa had me in for an hour conversation in her office. So the outreach has been really wonderful. And I am very largely encouraged by this report, but I do want to say, and this is in the spirit of positive, helping it advance, and let's all get to the next step, that I'm not sure if the select board here is to accept this report as complete tonight or where you're all at, but I don't consider this report quite complete. And I just want to touch very quickly on a couple of things, just for everybody's consideration. If you go to the destination list, that's page 24, for those of you playing along at home. What it lists is, there's some corrections that I think need to be made just before we get too far down the road. That's all I'm trying to bring up here. So for instance, the community house is omitted from this destination list. The rural cemetery is omitted from this destination list. St. Mark's Lawn is listed on this destination list, but not the town common. So that, that's a bit of a problem. Burnett Burial Park is outside the study area, but it seems to me that it should be included in the destination list of places that we would want to direct to, because it's one of the premier assets in town.
Burnett House.
Say?
The Burnett House.
Well, that's the other one I want to bring up to you, is that the study area, you know, ends at Parkerville Road at Main Street. If it went another 500 feet to Deerfoot, it would include the Burnett House, Joseph Burnett House. And I would point out, just remind everybody, you don't need to be reminded, that the town of Southborough has $1 million invested in a preservation restriction on that property, which is the premier historic residential destination in town. So I think,
But there's nothing to
you know,
prevent us from extending to.
absolutely not. So I'm just bringing it up now so that, because I'm not sure, you know, what the next steps are and where we're going. But in other words, I think there's some issues. Joseph Burnett House, the Burial Park, the Rural Cemetery, the Community House, the Town Common, they all need some clarification. On this particular list, it lists the Southborough Golf Course, and then the map has it as the Southborough Golf Club. And I know we have a course committee, but the website is the southboroughgolfclub.com. So we got to make up our minds: is it a club or is it a course? You know, there's stuff like that I think to be addressed, but largely, again, I'm quite supportive. You know, I think the work has been really great, and again, I really want to laud Vanessa for reaching out and trying to make very difficult work include a large number of voices. You know, and historical is certainly here to go to your question. I wasn't really looking away, but that we're here to help. If we can, and I think there's some, you know, refinement. Even in the inventory list, the inventory list misses the Lattisquama Road National Register sign, and there's some odd sort of commentary on the National Register signs as being, so it's quite small to read while driving and too high to be easily read by pedestrians, which is frankly preposterous. Anybody that's walked up the sidewalk by the entrance to Fay School or in front of the Knights of Columbus, you know, down by Morrow's, knows that those signs are very plainly read by pedestrians, and in fact were installed after quite considerable consultation with DPW and Crystal Roy. We worked really closely for many, many months, and with stakeholders, including, for instance, the KFC folks and the Fay School officials and stuff like that, to make sure that we had it right. And you know, with regard to them being read, they're also readable if people obey the speed limit on Main Street, which is, depending on where you are, is either 20 or 25 or 30 miles an hour. So, but there's some small quibbles there. But I think, you know, again, that this is really going in the right direction. We're very, very supportive on historical, and will continue to be. But I do, again, before it got too far down the road, and I wasn't sure if this was an official report you're now going to take and say, okay, stamp it paid. And I think Stantec needs to make some refinements. You know, even in terms of the destination list, because you can't have a destination list that includes the St. Mark's Lawn but not the Town Common. It's kind of silly.
Okay, so we'll get this on the agenda for maybe the 7th. We've got a lot going on the 7th. And figure out what we think the next step is, and understand that the support is not final. It's a good start, right? Looks like it's well done, and go to the next step. Okay. Vanessa, do you agree?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I offer some comments?
Of course.
All right, so thanks for the work that's been done so far. I thought one, word which was in the presentation, which I liked, was light touch. I think that the consensus from the people who were surveyed, we don't need a ton of new signs. That if this was done nicely, you would have to kind of respect what's already there, and just a couple careful placements. I know that I'm conscious of, Kevin and the Historical Commission went through a lot of work to put up the gateway signs that are already there about the historic district, and I think we should be conscious of, having the look of the signs not conflict with those too much, or not. I wouldn't want to have a gateway sign, right next to one of those signs. I definitely think, you know, the kiosks that were mentioned there are not, obviously not appropriate for, you know, Southborough. We just don't, that's more for cities. And something to consider, you know, the design that Patty came up with for the tricentennial, right, which is, I think, great. And we've talked about that even maybe as, you know, a new town seal we could officially, you know, I think that would be nice. You know, you wouldn't necessarily have to have 300 on there, but that's something you could consider for the design that's reflected on page 23. And if you look at page 23, I mean, I noticed that it's a, you know, a motif that was just developed through, you know, the group, but where it has the ratings of where it says 1, if I do not like it at all, and 5, I love it. The most responses were 1, you know? So I think that's kind of a sign of caution. Maybe let's consider some other designs as well. But, so those are my just general feedback so far.
Thank you.
Sounds like you're gonna volunteer to be on the working group, Andrew.
Sam?
Yeah, interesting project. Following on Andrew's point, one of the things that always concerns me is visual clutter. And I'm a big fan of fewer signs versus more signs. And I was trying to figure out here, maybe I missed it, if we did this as recommended, what is the increase in number of signs that we would have in town? Ballpark, we're talking about, you know, 25 extra signs, or some of these signs going to replace signs that are already out there?
It could also affect the cost of it, right?
Yeah.
The number of signs that
Right, right. I think generally, most of them would be new signs, you know, because you've got the 85 and 30 signage,
Right.
but the majority of it would be new signs.
And there used to be something like this. I have a vague recollection of around 2013 or so, which is when I first moved to town, that as you drove north on Route 85 near Purchase Center town, there was a big sign that had arrows.
On the community house side?
It was by where the community house
Yeah,
is.
yeah, right in front of the light there.
Yeah.
Like St.
I
Mark's
don't know,
Head.
whatever, it was, and then it was just taken down.
Main
I
Street
don't know why.
project victim.
I don't remember it, so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why that.
I didn't think it was a very attractive sign, but it was there, and it did the same kind of function of what we're talking about now.
Tim?
I had similar questions to Andrew about the design motif with the responses there. My biggest question was, did we incorporate the feedback for the last round into this report? Because I know the timing of that was like not even 2 weeks ago.
Right, and Stantec made some, you know, updates within the past 2 to 3 weeks. So this, the survey, in the second survey, that feedback was incorporated.
It was incorporated.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering, looking at some of the feedback, if it was fully incorporated or if decisions were made to omit elements because of timing. So, you know.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Whitney, are you trying to say something, or is that just something on feedback?
No, I was just affirming.
Okay.
That was my my general couple comments. I was hoping to see a little bit more work done to maybe change that seal idea.
AP?
Yeah, I think people have hit on some of the things. I think the overlap of the downtown district with the historic district is, you know, I don't think I'd necessarily add an extra gateway sign that says welcome to downtown right behind welcome to the historic district. I think the overlap is there. I think Kevin was right. There's some ones we're missing on the, you know, what are the most important wayfinding places in town in terms of there. I think I agree that the logo is nice, but I think I understood it was the water tower from the cemetery, but I don't know if everybody in town would understand what that building is. I think, yeah, and then it gets tough because there's not really a big figurehead building. Maybe this one in terms of what is the, what do you think of from Southborough? So it's tough. Town seal is unfortunately not the most attractive town seal. Maybe redesign a town seal like Truro did. Could be part of the program. That might be a nice idea. Yeah, those are my first thing. Then, yeah, I think just understanding how many signs are we going to have too many, and then what's the overall cost of this, and how do we move it forward?
So it sounds like we got 2 volunteers for the working group. Okay, so So we've got work to do, so I think we just put it back on the agenda for July 7th and chart our path forward as far as this goes. But I think this is very, very interesting. And Vanessa, so not only has Vanessa done this, she's also very integral to the Tricentennial Committee. So she is doing a whole lot right now to move things forward for this town. So thank you, Vanessa. And thank you, Whitney.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah, where's Mr. Morris? Where is, oh, there he is. All right, so the next item on the agenda is a required update from the Tricentennial Committee. So Don Morris, the chair, is here, as is Patty Fiore. Patty, are you the vice chair? Okay, so chair and vice chair are here. And then, of course, Andrew Dennington from Select Board is also part of the committee. You guys don't have a quorum, do you? Andrew?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Good evening. Before we get to the tricentennial, I would respectfully ask the meeting to have a moment of silence to think of Charlie Gaffney, who sat with me on the planning board for 25 years and who recently passed away. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm Don Morris. I'm the chair of the Tricentennial Committee. You all have our report, the written report. I hope you've read it. It's pretty wild. So we've met 35 times. Some of those meetings have had some guest speakers. The first part of this report is from previous reports because it's historic in what we've done, reaching out to organizations. We did a town-wide survey. We formed the Friends Southborough 300, a 501c3 for donations, sponsorships, and fundraising activities, and there'll be a little bit more on that as we get deeper into this. We held an ice cream scoop giveaway at Heritage Park on last September. We've had some pop-up events where we've showed up with the brick fundraising information, and that's going along slowly but making progress. And then the newest item here is the town meeting recently approved that zoning amendment to allow the banners on light poles. As you know, the sign bylaw wouldn't allow that, but now it was passed, and we will be getting the green light to install these banners starting on August 1st, which is a month away, a little more than a month away. And they are allowed to stay up from August 1st, 2026 to January 31st, 2028. And the question here, we don't expect an answer tonight. We're on track, I think, for possibly having these banners ready to be put up in September or a little bit later. But we need to resolve who's going to put them up. We've done measurements and we've looked at, thanks to the DPW, who gave us a great map of all the telephone poles, power poles that have lights on them, the LED lights. So that's our map, but we'll get to, hopefully we'll get to find out who will have permission to put those brackets up that would hold the banners.
So let's talk, so how are we going to determine that, Mr. Purple? Who do we go to, Grid? Who gives permission to use poles?
We have a parallel track. One is to purchase, select the design or designs, purchase the brackets, and have those in a parallel track with selecting the poles. And right now, we're looking at about 50 poles. There'll be around 32 here on Main Street, and then 6 in Fayetteville, 6 in Corderville, and 6 in Southville. for a total of 50 banners. So at the time that we would submit the list of requested poles to Mark, that parallel track will cross with the National Grid, and then I'm sure they'll have input as to what who puts them up. But
So Grid is going to be the approver of the polls?
Grid and Verizon.
Okay, do we know how fast they do these approvals?
We do not.
Other towns have these banners. Have we checked with other towns to see how long it took them to get their approvals? I mean, this is almost July.
We checked with some of the towns.
Not everyone's followed the same process, let's put it that way.
Exactly. And the same size, and the same configuration, and the same height. They're all different.
So you want them up when?
This fall.
They're allowed to go up as of August 1st based on the bylaw, but yeah, we'll work with what we get.
But are you wanting someone in the townhouse to start talking to Grid, talking to Verizon? Are you guys going to talk to Grid, and talk to Verizon? Who's going to?
I think what Mark had said was that we should decide on the polls first.
Okay, which
or
polls?
the approximate polls, and then he would take that and go to National Grid. So at our last meeting, Don, do you mind if I talk about the banners?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So at our last meeting, we were discussing just the size of them because I think we had to approach it from a budget standpoint and determine how much they would cost per unit, and then make a decision on overall spend, and that would decide how many we can do. So we can't pick the poles till we decide a budget, till we decide how much they're gonna cost and where they're gonna go. So part of that was deciding the size. I do have a little visual. This is just one of the design options. That would be approximately the size. It's 18 by 36. So we're discussing also whether they're all the same or whether there's, per village, maybe there's a historic photo that is applicable to that village that is another design so that they're not all the same.
So the critical path is to figure out your budget and then back into how many polls that means, and then contact Grid and or Verizon as far as the specific polls that are under their jurisdiction.
So based on the size, we've already kind of come up with an estimate of the cost for the unit. For the banner, it's a two-sided banner, and the bracket and horizontal piece that holds it all up. So, yes.
Yeah, that is.
And the next step is to, decide on how many. We were throwing around these numbers and then choose locations for them that Mark can then take to National Grid for approval. The turnaround in getting these is very quick. That's not the problem.
We estimated, thanks to Patty, around $70 a piece, including the brackets.
70? 70?
70.
That's not bad.
So you multiply that times 50, it's 3,500. So we, at our last meeting, talked about 3,500 to 5,000.
Yeah, we're talking about allocating 5,000 because there's going to be shipping charges. The place, obviously we can quote it out to different places, but I have a wholesale place that I deal with, which is where I bought all the banners and tablecloths and everything else for Tricentennial. They are, however, based in California, so there's some shipping involved.
All right, anybody any questions on the banner, the proposed 50 banners? Everybody's okay with it?
So after the celebration in 2028, we will take the banners down and leave the brackets up for the town to use at a very small price to the Tricentennial to rent those.
Okay. I think reusing them for like the Hometown Heroes banners.
Hometown Heroes or
supplementing that.
holiday or big events or whatever, yeah.
The bylaw only goes through what again?
Well, the bylaw was about the banners coming down. Didn't say anything about the hardware coming down. So the hardware's there, and basically 2/3 of that cost is the hardware cost. 1/3 is the banner cost.
Okay, but to put something else back up, you'd have to have another bylaw. Okay, all right. Okay, good idea. Okay, Don, sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no problem. So, let's see. So down to the funding, you know, in the town meeting on 2024, we received, the town designated 30,000 for seed money, and the state requires towns to spend that either during the tricentennial celebration year or 6 months before, which would be after June 30th, which is in like, what, a couple of days, we could start to spend it. But the committee has absolutely no need at this time to use any of it and press on with the donations. We don't need to touch that money at this time. We still have a fundraising working group. We received an email this morning with some good news about some additional sponsorships and agreements to sponsor events. We haven't heard much about that in a while, but some good news this morning. And we sent to Ginny Martin's this report, which lists a lot of the things that we're planning to do, and those would be shared with the potential sponsors so that they could decide where their sponsorship would be or somewhere else. Okay. So the report says we have donations and pledges of over 130,000. That number, I think, is going to grow based on the email that I got from Ginny this morning.
You've got right now, if I use 30,000 for the bricks, you got 205,000, and I think you got another 25 coming too. So you got 205 that is done, and that's based on the budget that we went over last time I came to your meeting. So, tightening up that budget and finalizing it is pretty important.
Yeah, and that's why I think we can all clearly say that we're in no way looking to spend that 30,000 that the town gave us.
That's the hope. We don't have to spend it. We get it closer out. So that 205 does not include that 30. So that's the donations and the bricks.
Well, and there is money that we've already spent. Some.
Right. So we spent almost 10. Right. So that's 195 left to spend, not including the town money.
Yeah, at this time. And then our plans for the rest of this year are listed here on page 2 of the report. That first day is a Friday. There's a program for yoga in the morning. There'll be hopefully a history talk during the afternoon. And then we're planning a drone show at around 6 p.m., which is good because it's dark by then and it's still early. We'll see how that unfolds. I know that there's some discussion about the drone show in January. And then later in January, more details to follow on the bonfire. In February, we have Faith School in St. Mark's. We're going to have events relative to the Tricentennial, Strawberry Festival at the library in June. Tree planting locations. I've talked with DPW, and the next step, I think, this summer would be to pick locations for these trees, one in each village, to be planted, and the species determined before the fall so that they can be properly dug up and balled and ready to be planted after the winter. Then the next item here is Incorporation Day ceremony, which would be July 6th, 2027. There was, I think, a brief discussion about maybe doing the time capsule as part of that. That was kind of split because that's only halfway through the tricentennial year, and there may be more historic things that happen the rest of 2027. And the other piece of that would be then to seal up and secure a time capsule in the 12th month, in December of 2027. So we're still working on that, but Again, the Incorporation Day on July 6th, it's a Tuesday. We would hope that the Select Board would take the lead on proclamation and some type of a ceremony. And if you'd like us to look into what the other towns have done on their Incorporation Day, we can do that too. Fireman's Muster, that's going to be pretty good. They've secured quite a number of hand tub competitors, and then even some music, which we didn't expect. The music festival, which we've been reported is now called the Tricentennial Spectacular on summer nights. That would be August of 2027. So the working group for that has launched a survey. The results are due on June 30th, and that will help guide what the celebration will be on that day. This summer nights in August 2026, we'll hopefully be working with Travis to have something to inform and tease the public about returning next year in 2027 for an even bigger and more fun celebration. The Garden and House Tour, that's in September. History in Bloom, this is another, the Garden Club is all over this one, but this one's a little bit time sensitive, kind of like the trees. They're planning to plant the bulbs for certain types of flowers, and those have to be planted in the fall, so that in the spring of 2027, they're in bloom. So we have to get that coordinated and a location to plant the bulbs. Heritage Day Grand Parade, that's slowly coming together. Cemetery tour in November. Some history talks at the library. We haven't picked any specific dates yet, but it's coming. I talked about the time capsule. Glow Sobo is a lighting event set for Friday, December 3rd. More details on that to follow. And then the oral history videos that Terry and Sam, that's not our Sam, but Southborough Access Media, have been doing. They've done 9 or 10 of them, and there's a small handful of Southborough residents who are kind of on deck to do some more. We talked about the banners.
Can I just make one addition to your list?
Sure.
So I just think that Cemetery Tour - November really doesn't describe what's going to happen. This is a really cool idea. It's called, what is it? Something from the grave. It's going to be
From the Grave?
Voices from the Grave. Thank you, Andrew. So it's taking place at the Old Burial Ground and the Burnett Park, and it's going to be costumed interpreters. There's going to be docents that will guide people to each of these costumed interpreters who are at a specific grave site, and that person will be telling a story, as if they were the person that had passed away, the history of that person. So it's really a cool idea. It's not just a cemetery tour.
Thank you.
Yes.
And then another item that's not on this list, and it's soon to come, is to launch a webpage. Some of the other towns that have celebrations have their own separate webpage, and we're working on one that will be hopefully launched a little bit later in the summer, or certainly hopefully by the fall. And then we're going to continue with the long-term interviews for the long-term residents, continue to share information with the Shrewsbury Tricentennial Committee. And then last, Sam came to our meeting the other night and spoke about, that was a follow-up to the previous meeting, wasn't it, Sam?
Right. Yes.
Where you gave us a demonstration about an AI music.
A history of Southborough, important events in Southborough, AI generated.
AI video.
Yeah.
Could be interesting.
So at our last meeting, Sam reminded us that if we want to do that, we should put it on the list and see where it grows. and we said that we were very interested, and so that may be another item that would somehow get into the celebration. I think that's about all we have. A lot of people working on different things, but we're still somewhat disappointed in the number of volunteers that we don't have. We could really use, it's a 9-person committee, there's only been 7 people on the committee, there's room for 2 more, and then the working groups are more for people that don't necessarily want to show up to 1 meeting a month and do that, but work on maybe one specific thing, like the AI project, or the web page, or what was the other one? Like a golf tournament, something like that. That we just don't have the people to go into these other interesting but time-consuming things to put together. So we're still looking for volunteers, and hopefully we'll have more and more people coming and be interested in helping, especially the schools. Private schools have joined it right in, but the public schools, we're still trying to work with them to put their.
Okay, so be clear, you have not gotten much help from the public school side, is that what you're saying?
The only thing I know about is a comic book for the 2nd grade, or a coloring book.
No, that was, well, that was being, they want to, well, I guess they're looking for us to pay for it, but that I think is being produced by Faye School.
Okay. We've, myself and another committee member, physically went to Algonquin and met with the history department head back in January, I think, or February, and talked about the photo club. It's a photography class. It's an optional class, and having some type of project for them to do. And we were told that in January that they don't really know how many people will sign up for that elective class. So if they don't have enough, then they won't do it. But if they do have enough, then maybe they'll help assign some of the students to doing some type of a photography display relative to the tricentennial. So this is June. We had agreed to meet in June, and we haven't heard back. So, and that's just Algonquin. And over the last, 2.5 years, we've reached out to the different schools, and hasn't been much of a response. But there's still time. There's still time for the students to get involved and help out.
I think when we started this, we started it essentially 3 years out, and people were not thinking about the tricentennial. I mean, I got an email a week and a half ago from somebody that had an idea about doing something for the tricentennial. And so I think now, and with, getting the word out there more and having banners up and things like that, people will get more excited about it and get more excited about the events. So it's tough to talk to people when it's not really hitting home with them about when it's happening, and who knows what you're doing next week, let alone in a year and a half.
One of the things that was said with Algonquin was that the state mandates a certain curriculum, I guess, for high school students, and it's really a packed program that doesn't have a whole lot of room for add-ons. And so that's, in fairness to Algonquin and the high school and the departments there, it's a challenge. It would be a challenge for them to insert something formal for the tricentennial, but there's plenty of high school kids that could pitch in and do some other things, and they get credit for it. They get, I think, college credits for certain things.
The specific idea for the photography group that we were hoping that somebody would take interest in it is to do like a photo essay of Southborough then and now. Take a historic photo. I keep thinking of this one historic photo of Main Street, where you're standing by the old drugstore there and you're looking down Main Street and it's, vast and dirt-covered street and not much going on. And have this photography student stand in the exact same location at the same time of day with the same kind of lighting, same time of year, and take a photo and then display them next to each other. And I had spoken with Brian at the library about it, and he seemed to be pretty excited about it. We just have to get somebody to do the photos.
All right, Andrew, you want to say anything? You're there.
Sure. We see there's a lot of operational things being talked about. I mean, the main point here just is informational, just reminding people the tricentennial is next year, 2027. It's a big deal. We hope that people get excited about it. It's an opportunity for, like, one of the things I found nice is some people who have talked to us about the 300th have shared their memories of participating in the 250th celebration from, what was that, 1977?
Yeah.
So, it's something that they remember. We would like to have a year-long series of events where people will remember it in a fond way and it deepens their connection to the town. And so that's what we're trying to do. I know I have bought a brick, and I'm looking forward to, by the way, the brick fundraiser is you can buy a brick, and just like there's bricks and the walkway to the community house, we've had a program running for a long time where you can buy a brick and have your name on it, and it's put in the walkway by Heritage Park. So I hope people will consider, contributing to the tricentennial in a way like that or some other way. Just, we got to keep getting the message out there that this event is coming.
I do think that banners and...
Absolutely.
I think the banners will help a lot.
It's going to help so much.
I agree, the sooner the better to get those up.
Yeah.
But Don's right. I mean, I remember when this first started, I wasn't even on Southborough, and that's been 4 years, so Marty Healy really was, pushing this, right? And, it did seem like it was so far away at that point. This is almost July, it's here. So, Don, and Patty, we'll do what we can to try to get some more energy in this, because I think you guys have a lot of things to work out as far as details go. We strongly support this. I think the things you've got planned sound great, especially the cemetery. That's going to be fun. The parade's going to be great. The drone show's going to be great. Summer Night's going to be great. So I think we've got a really good list. Now we just got to make sure we get all the details worked out. So we will all, I hope people are listening tonight, we'll all try to help get them re-advertise that we need more help here as far as things, specific things, right?
To help with the initial planning, I mean, I want to also say that we have some great houses committed to the house tour already. I think there's 6 already committed, and they're hoping to finalize that list by this fall. But we're going to need lots of people on the days of those events to help out too. But right now, some of the stuff like this behind the scenes and the ongoing work to get all these events in place.
Is Burnett House part of the house tour? Is he?
I don't think that's been confirmed.
Okay.
I forget whether that was on the list. Not the house. If anything, it was going to be the chapel and the carriage house.
Yeah. Okay.
But there are a couple of very good ones.
I think you guys have done yeoman's work. And so we've all got to start trying to help. Maybe talk to Mr. Martineau and see if we can get the schools more interested in making anything else.
Buy a brick if you haven't bought it.
I've got one, doing mine, with my animals. Ready to go. So, we've also got a commitment to JJ, just seeing his agree to actually put the bricks in for us at pro bono, so that's great that he's volunteered that. So we've had a lot of people that have offered to do a lot of stuff, but we still have lots of work to do, right?
Absolutely.
Does anybody have any more questions for Don? Okay.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Okay, so other matters. So now we've got 3 appointments to committees that were held on June 2nd that we need to deal with tonight. So the first one, and Kevin just walked out, so I'll speak for him, is Kelly O'Brien. I believe, Andrew, you held Kelly. Kelly has notified Kevin that she does not want to be reappointed. She's actually moving from Southborough, so she wouldn't be eligible to be on the committee, so that one's kind of easy. So, Andrew, you held her, you want to make the motion to appoint Kelly then?
So I move that we appoint Kelly O'Brien to the Historical Commission for a term to expire June 30, 2029.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of appointing Kelly O'Brien to the Historical Commission? Okay, all opposed? Okay, so that one's done. Okay. So, 05. All right, the next 2 are the same person, Freddie Gillespie, who we all know well. Sam, you held her reappointment to both the Open Space Preservation Committee, and I think that, yeah, that's a 5-year term, so 5 years ending June 30th, and then stewardship for a term to expire June 30th, 2027. So, do you want to serve?
Yes, thanks. I held this in anticipation of our goal-setting meeting because I'm interested in the larger issue of board and committee structure. And I had on my list for goals to be discussed a review of goals and committees to make sure that we've got the right structure there. We've had 2 independent consultants over the last several years advise us that we have far too many committees and we need to think about restructuring, consolidating, streamlining, regionalizing, whatever, to lower that number. So I was interested in seeing where that conversation went at the goal-setting meeting. And interestingly, other members had that same issue on their list as well. That came out of that meeting as one of the goals that we're looking at for FY27, and Mr. Flang actually got his name attached to that one as the point person for that. So that's, I think, a good thing to do. And in that context, I'm willing to make a 5-year appointment on the Open Space Commission, and then that is connected to the stewardship appointment there. So I was not prepared then with that outcome to support either of those appointments, so that's where I am at this point.
So I'll just go down 1% Tam.
I'm in a similar boat. I mean, it's one of our goals to start to streamline this. I think there's an opportunity to reevaluate open space and kind of put that purview underneath another department or another committee. So I would support the idea of consolidation today and think about it in that term, and then find a spot that makes sense to streamline what we're looking to do and have really, really dedicated people go for that opportunity, but treat this as not a 5-year appointment and try to consolidate now.
Andrew?
I also think it's worth looking into the board and committee consolidation idea. I do think that come at it from a little bit of a different perspective, because I think that I see that, you know, the stewardship committee, I think, has a more defined function than the Open Space Preservation Commission. And I know Freddie's served a long time on the OSPC, and I think I respect that. I just feel like I think it's time for a change for that committee. You know, it's a conclusion that I've come to after thinking about it for a lot of time. You know, one thing that I was thinking about is that earlier, you know, today in our meeting, we had an example of where, you know, we filled a vacancy of someone who ably served on a board for a long, long time very well, and we just appointed someone who is some kind of new blood, and I think that type of turnover is sometimes a good thing. And I want to acknowledge, you know, I received the emails of people who strongly support reappointing Freddie, and I want to acknowledge I've read those and I've thought about it carefully. This is the conclusion that I think I've come to.
EP?
One question for Mark. Could we make this for the OSPC, the vacant position that's open that expires at 6/30/28 instead?
You could.
You certainly could do that.
You could shift to where it's being appointed, sure.
and 5 years is just a long time. I think, especially as we're looking to consolidate things, I'd be more willing to approve a 2-year term than a 5, if anybody else would be on board with that. But 5 is tough.
So I'm not going to vote to approve the appointment for either one, but not for the same reason that the 4 of you have listed. And I talked to Freddie. We talked yesterday. She knows what my 2 issues are, and they're just big things for me. You may remember a couple years ago, I think it was exactly 2 years, because I was chair, so I was sitting right here when we had that big meeting and blow up in this room. But Mr. Hamilton made a statement that a lot of people took a great issue with, which was basically boards and committees should follow the select board's lead. You didn't say exactly like that, but that's pretty much what he said. That we set the direction, we set the policy, and boards and committees should basically act accordingly. I didn't agree fully with what he said, but what we're doing tonight is, to me, a perfect example of why he was certainly at least partially right. I don't actually think that boards and committees should do exactly what we say. They should. We want talented people. We want ideas from them, but they certainly should row in the same direction that the select board is trying to go with our overarching goals. So my 2 issues, I think, are prime examples of where Freddie doesn't do that. So I'll start with town meeting, April 11th. The select board had worked really, really hard to come forth with a article that was going to be the biggest bond we've ever floated in this town to try to fix a big chunk of the roads in this town. We know how bad the roads are. We have complaints all the time. Everybody drives on roads. It's something that we believed everybody was affected by. We were very passionate about doing that. Bill kind of worked really hard to put together the information that was presented at town meeting. Capital worked very hard on it. So it was a very united effort to bring that forth. Mr. Haggerty had asked anyone before that meeting, like he always does, if you've got an amendment, especially if you're part of the town. We get citizens petitions where you always don't know how things work, but if you're part of the town, you know how this works. Bring that amendment forth early so we have a chance to digest it and talk about it. We talked about the roads for months. Open Space had plenty of time to come and talk to anybody they wanted to about the issue of knotweed. No one wants knotweed. That's not the issue here. It was the way it was done. This last minute, the amendment was emailed over at 2:35 a.m. on April 11th. That's how late it came in. The presentation or the information wasn't even put on the table aside. It was so late, it was handed out during the meeting. Walking up and down the aisle, what was going on. It took, 20 minutes to have the discussion. It failed. The proper way to have done that would have been to have gone to Bill Condit ahead of time, sit down, talk about knotweed, but to, attempt to tie his hands as far as how to do his contracts was just totally inappropriate. It was just not the way to do that. To risk that article failing for something like knotweed is just inappropriate. All we had to do was have a discussion about it. We were blindsided. We knew nothing about it until it showed up at 10 o'clock on April 11th. So that's the first one. The second one was Costco. Costco is a project that this town really, really wants. We voted almost unanimously last fall to bring Costco here. The vote, I believe, was 772 to 12. We don't have votes like that at town meeting very often. We also don't have 800 people that come out for things very often, maybe schools, but that's about it. So there's no doubt that the town as a whole totally supported Costco. So we had a kickoff meeting in this room a few months ago with the person from Costco that's actually going to build the store. He builds all the Costcos, he's in charge. He is way up the food chain at Costco. The purpose of the meeting was us to say hello to the town, kind of give us a big picture of what was going to go on. I wasn't in charge of who got invited to the meeting. I was here, and almost the first question that got asked was from Freddie, And the question was, what are you going to do about people who leave their car idling in the parking lot? That was the first question. The second question was about plants, as far as that goes. It was totally inappropriate that was their introduction to this town. I've got in front of me an article from Asheville, North Carolina, where Costco backed out because of what the town did later on. Deal was all done. The town just kept picking at Costco as far as more and more stuff that they wanted, and they said, no thank you. So the idea that this is a written stone deal is incorrect. When I talked to Freddie yesterday, she said, well, it's a done deal. I said, no, it's not. There's lots of contingencies in this lease, so we need to make sure that Costco is supported. So that's my two very specific issues recently. I also am well aware of people that work in this town as employees that have issues as far as how Freddie works with them, the way things get done, etc. Those issues have been around for a long time, and they don't seem to be abated at all. So I hate to say what I'm doing here, but I'm doing what I think is right for the town. So I won't support the appointments, but not for the reason that the four of you guys have listed. Okay, so today we have gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 emails from, and I may pronounce some names wrong because a couple are hard. Joyce Greenleaf, Jenny Pete, Marty Houlihan, Debbie DeMaria, Kat McKee, Robert and Giger, I think, and then Fayette Creed. So we've heard from each of those. We saw the emails, we've read them. So just so you know, we've got your emails and we know what you said, and we know why you feel the way you do. But there's another side to this, and doesn't mean this has to be permanent. It doesn't. When Freddie and I talked yesterday, she actually apologized for the two things I just mentioned, said that maybe she was wrong, and now in the light of day, she could have done things differently. So she did say it, but they just keep happening, and these things are too big for us to not do right. So I'm just not. I'm not going to support the appointments to either committee, but for those reasons, not for the fact that we are probably going to propose quite a bit of restructuring this year. We've got Aaron Fab on the select board, and that's one of his big things. That's why he wanted to run, because he thinks we should do things to be more efficient. We all thought that we should combine stewardship and open space a couple years ago. We got great pushback, and we agreed not to do it then, but I still think it's the right thing to do. There's just a lot of commonality with those two committees that we think works. We'll talk about it again. We'll give people a chance to bring forth, but that is my position. So tonight, rather than here, I know why you guys are here. I know you love Freddie. So Freddie, it's your choice as far as who you want to speak. So we'll hear from two people, including you. So you can decide who you want to speak, and then we will see if anybody's changed their mind, and then we will vote. Excuse me?
Thank you. I wanted to say a couple of things, and I did say to you, Kathy, in looking in hindsight, I would have done things differently. But what I was prepared to say, and then hearing what has been said, I want to say a couple of things in defense of the Open Space Preservation Commission, which is totally different from the work that the Stewardship Committee does. That's a longer conversation, and I can explain that to you later, because it is very complicated and different, and very different. The issue about the concerns Kathy raised, town meeting was April 11th, and I forget the date of the Costco meeting. Not one person reached out to me afterwards. It's like, come here and have this thrown at me without any forewarning, you know. It's really challenging on how to respond. And I will say this about the knotweed, which was newer information we had just gotten, and in hindsight I wouldn't have done that, but it felt imperative if there was an opportunity to educate people and to know we are looking at a huge crisis. And I know you're not seeing it because it's just starting, and what's happened since that meeting, I found out Do you know that there are lawsuits in this Commonwealth now where communities are paying big bucks? A lot of them are non-disclosure acts, you know, afterwards, so it's not hitting the main media. But the one that happened 3 years ago, $300,000. Just the day after I brought this up, I found out about another one for $100,000. And towns are not exempt from this. And our goal was to try to help prevent the degradation that's going to cost a lot more money for this town to deal with after the fact. I can go into that at another time, not now. There was no ill intent. There was no intention to blindside anyone. And I know that wasn't a great way to do it, believe me. But this just came up, and I did the best I could with the information we had last minute. And the thing about Costco, I'm sorry. I really feel bad about that. But I will tell you, that's in an area of the highest preservation for open space priorities. And not once did anyone talk to us about what the impact of that will be to those properties, as well as the over 85 acres of protected land around there. That's why those comments were made, and I thought it was a done deal. Nobody ever talked to the Open Space Commission, so maybe there's a policy place, like I said in my text to you, to have a discussion about intercommunication between boards and committees, because I didn't know that it wasn't a done deal. And also, it wasn't out of the blue. Those gentlemen who were here had spoken to me, approached me at another meeting previously. We had a friendly relationship. I didn't think there was anything adversarial. And what I heard at that meeting is they were there to give information, but to get feedback. And our goal was, and my goal was surely just to to give them some heads up on things that might be coming down the road so they could think about it ahead of time in case they wanted to incorporate that into their plans, because I know it's expensive every time you have to do a set of plans. And before I end, because I really, it's way too much, you know how many projects I've done, but I want to say two things. I was asking for your support. I'm not going to get that, but I would say, I just want to read a few things. I played a leading role in some of the most significant open space projects in Southborough's history, including the preservation of Chestnut Hill Farm in 2006. For that work, I was nominated by State Senator Pam Reeser for the Unsung Heroine Award, the first woman nominated for the town, and was honored at the State House with citations from both the Massachusetts Senate and House of Representatives. This morning, I spoke with Dave Ferris, owner of 118-120 Turnpike Road, regarding his experience working with me during the OSPC review of the proposed 40B development on his property. The project presented challenges because the proposed building site had previously been designated as land to be conveyed to the town as open space. Through discussions among Mr. Ferris, his attorneys, and the OSPC, we were able to reach a compromise that ultimately earned the Commission's support. Mr. Ferris stated to me this morning, and he said I could quote him, that he 100% respects me, views me as a strong advocate for land protection and the town's best interest, and appreciate that I approach issues with kindness, consideration, and professionalism. A class act, and he said that several times. There have also been occasions when the OSPC and the Select Board have disagreed on the best path forward. Earlier today, former Select Board Chair John Rooney expressed his support for my reappointment and thanked me for my role in preserving the golf course while allowing the construction of the public safety building. Although the OSPC and Select Board disagreed for more than a year, shortly before town meeting, the Select Board asked me if they could put the OSPC amendment on the floor in place of the Select Board article. That resulted in what many consider Southborough's grand compromise. I share these examples because they demonstrate my ability to work through difficult issues, find common ground, and earn respect of those with differing perspectives. And I say that because neither of those situations were smooth, but they resulted in a positive outcome in both situations. The situation of the golf course with a public safety building, which when you walked into that town meeting,
You weren't getting a public safety building, and the golf course was going to be sold. And the end result was hugs and tears at the end of the meeting, and congratulations, and renewed long-term friendships with people that we had been in deep disagreement over the course of a year. The situation with Dave Ferris, that was a developer trying to develop his land and having, roadblocks put into place, and he respected the role that the Open Space Preservation Commission played in making that a project that could move forward. Those are two things that in the midst of the disagreement or being on opposite sides, you wouldn't say that was a smooth, wonderful operation. But the end result was, and sometimes these situations of compromise are challenging in the midst of it. It's the end result that counts. And I would also say, in my defense, I never do anything to try to cause trouble or be in disagreement with the select board. But, on your side, when have you reached out to the Open Space Commission? When do you discuss anything with us? And you say to be on the same side. If you're talking about developing land that has great open space value, and we're the Open Space Commission charged to facilitate the preservation of open space, there's going to be some butting of heads there. And the goal is to come together and find what's best for the town. And I know we're talking a lot about housing and economic relief for the tax burden, but that's not the whole picture. Talk to people why they moved here. It's about the open space. We have not preserved anything of significance in this town. Do you know that Breakneck Hill Conservation Land at under 100 acres is about the only park and public land in this town? The reservoir doesn't count. We don't own it. They could decide that they don't need it, drain it, and sell it off. We do not have the open space that people think that we do. And the land is not being utilized correctly. There's all red pine on the reservoir land. They're all dying, and it's all coming in invasives. And it's not a resource for the town. We can't swim there. Most of the walking isn't available. So we need more open space, especially as we're developing more. We're going to put more housing in. You need more parks. Go to successful towns. There's parks within walking distance of all the neighborhoods. We don't have a park in town that's not a school playground, that's not open during school, that is open during school days, where people can go and recreate. We don't have it. Breakneck Hill is conservation land. It's not a park. Where do you go to fly a kite? We don't have a place in town. So I'm not going to change your mind tonight. I hope we can have future conversations. I think you're mistaken about the Open Space Preservation Commission. I think a reasonable approach would be to appoint me in the 2028 slot, because that's 2 years. You can do your rearranging. There is no way the Stewardship Committee can take on what the Open Space Commission did. Are you aware there's a new Open Space and Rec plan due? I worked on the last 2 ones. It was a heavy lift. And at the end of the year, the end of the day after the consultant left and there was still half a report to go, it was me and a couple of other people in the town finishing it off. It wasn't a committee, it wasn't town staff. I have lifted that road, so.
We all appreciate open space. We are being hounded by people about taxes. That's what we hear all day long, is taxes. We also need a new school. We've got a school that's falling apart. We've got to do something about it. We've got roads that need. So it's just the fact that, you've got different priorities. And so open space is important, but I'd say we've done a better job with open space than we have a lot of other things. But I do want to, and I'm not trying to make you miserable right now, but I got your agenda for April 9th in front of me. You didn't have this on your agenda to talk about this. If we had known that you were going to talk about this, we would have talked about it ahead of time and explained that the better way to do this was to sit down with Bill Cundiff. We're also trying to make town meeting more enjoyable and get people to come, right? And the only way you're going to do that is cut the meetings down and try to make them more efficient. So we had a pretty efficient meeting this last time, but we spent 20 minutes talking about knotweed. There's no one here that wants knotweed. We understand it's a problem, but it's just not a problem that should have risen to the level it did at that meeting. That it should have been a separate discussion with Bill Cundiff, and it certainly should have been on your agenda if you're going to make a statement that the Open Space Commission voted to bring that amendment forward. So that's an issue too. It's not on your agenda. If we'd known about it, you'd come to us, gone to Capitol, gone to Bill, we would have talked about this. And you probably would have gotten a much better answer because Bill would have said, this is how we can do this. He would say, I can do this. But to tie his hands with an amendment that might or might not have affected his ability to contract the way he wanted to was just not the appropriate way to do it. And again, 2:35 a.m. is when that amendment came over on April 11th. So I don't want to beat up on you anymore. I just what I'm going to say.
I'll respond to just that.
Okay.
I heard loud and clear at town meeting when Andrew said it wasn't on the agenda. And I did call the appropriate authority at state government. And we did make an adjustment at our next meeting, which would have been what is required for an open meeting law violation on the agenda. But if you look at the agenda, it said roadside invasives. That was from the prior meeting when this.
But Freddie, no one would have understood that you wanted to bring the amendment forward with that description.
I understand it wasn't specific enough. It was a mistake, which is why I called the state, which is why we made a correction that no one filed an open meeting law complaint, but we took the corrective action if someone had, not to defend ourselves, but to correct the record and admit a mistake. Okay. So I agree it wasn't, I didn't, when that came up, I was like, no, it was on the agenda. I didn't realize it wasn't specific enough. I didn't realize it wasn't intentional, and it was a huge mistake on trying to get something that we believe was really critically important for this town to reduce future lawsuits. Since then, we have 2 situations in town where knotweed is damaging property. It's come through a new parking lot. Town funds may be paid to create it, and there's knotweed coming through. And then another project where there was a knotweed situation, it came through the property line, and it's now impacting another neighbor. You're going to start seeing lawsuits in Southborough, and I hate to see, there's another one I'm aware of where a homeowner went after the abutting conservation land by the town's conservation commission. These things are going to start happening. We became aware of them suddenly. It was not something we were planning to do this to take you by surprise. So it was a mistake, but it was only in the effort of doing what was better for the town. And I'll end there.
And Joyce wanted to say something. That's okay. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Joyce Greenleaf, Chair of the Stewardship Committee, and I'm speaking on behalf of Stewardship, which supports Freddie's reappointment. When I think about a volunteer, I think about commitment, expertise, passion, and time. And these are qualities, 4 qualities, that I would hope the town of Southborough would value in a volunteer. Freddie, a longtime steward since the beginning, like myself, embodies all of these attributes, and she has devoted countless hours to making Southborough a better place. As the Select Board focuses on its important priorities of economic development and housing and reducing a tax burden, I would hope it would welcome volunteers who bring their time and effort to ensuring Southborough has meaningful open space which provides recreation opportunities, as well as providing habitat for at-risk species. We see other local communities in Massachusetts promote and celebrate their conservation land and their pollinator gardens. And we would love to see Southborough similarly celebrate our conservation land and pollinator gardens and habitat. Those habitats wouldn't be here without Freddie and her leadership, her expertise, and her commitment. She brings those attributes to bear at Breakneck Hill, and that property is the crown jewel of Southborough. It has biodiversity, it has beauty, it has habitat, it has trails, and it's an important research site for Dr. Robert Jagir, who's a leading researcher at UMass Dartmouth on at-risk pollinators. It was actually his first research site where a native bumblebee thought to be extirpated from Massachusetts was identified, and by efforts of Freddie leading the cooperative relationship with Dr. Jagir, we've seen an increase in the population there. Stewardship right now has multiple large projects underway, and Freddie's role in these projects is critical. We are working to restore the area where the farm dump was cleaned up, which is about an acre or more. We're repairing the meadow that was damaged by the farm dump workers, which was significant damage to a meadow. We're installing a new roadside meadow featuring plants that are native and very important to these at-risk pollinators. And we're establishing a comprehensive invasive management plan. Without Freddie, stewardship's effectiveness will be undermined. And I think those of us who volunteer in town will think twice about raising our hands and participating in town government if Freddie is not reappointed. It feels like she's being singled out. Not every human interaction is going to be smooth and pleasant and harmonious. Maybe there's room for all of us to offer each other some grace and goodwill and recognize we have different gifts. But there's more that unites us than there is that separates us. We all care about the town, and we want to make it a greater place. So please reappoint Freddie. Thank you.
Any other comments? You want to have one?
No, I
No, I said one besides Freddie, so two in total.
Anyone related to Freddie, just something in response to,
I thought you sent an email, you did not, Kristen?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, okay, one more.
I won't belabor the, excuse me, Kristen Lovell, Southwood Drive, I'm here speaking as a citizen. I'm not gonna belabor the points already made. Obviously, I was sat there shaking my head. I vehemently agree. I don't understand in what planet we would get rid of such a wealth of knowledge and source of help who puts her own life aside for the sake of this town. It blows my mind. And I'm sorry, Kathy, but it comes across very personal. I'm gonna leave it there. You know what, I was at town meeting, you know what did not piss me off? Learning about the knotweed, because I live on Parker, or off Parkerville. And if anyone knows, and my daughter's starting to drive, taking that right off Parkerville onto Route 9, it's cut back occasionally, I believe that's knotweed. It's scary, because we can't turn into that third lane safely. They just happen to cut it back. Can't keep up with it. And that's all along that road. So thank God she's here to educate us on that, because no offense, but you don't have the time, nor do I think you would do it. Your interests are with affordable housing and reducing the tax rate. Totally understand, but that does not mean we just shove aside the open space needs and then, you know, the nature and the pollinators and everything that she does. I'm sorry, I also get emotional because it's just dumbfounding to me. But I want to say something, that didn't bother me. And I think at the end of the day, we did end up in a really good place, and she knows it's late, but that's because she's doing a million other things. It was not a move. You know what was a move? And you know what did bother me? And you know what did extend conversation? What Mr. Steiders did to the planning board. He introduced an amendment at the end of town meeting when he knew that we barely had 100 people. You did not know, the planning board did not know you were going to present that. I went to hours of the planning board meetings. I sat there during their public session. So you pulled a fast one and you admitted it on the town floor.
Okay, Kristen, if you want to talk about Freddie, that's fine, but that's not.
Don't beat up Freddie for bringing a last minute amendment when Mr. Stivers brought one that was going to open up the idea of AI data centers at the end of the meeting when he knew that we would barely have 100 people. So I'm just saying, can we take that one off the plate? Because Freddie admitted she made a mistake. I'm sorry, I'm way more concerned about what our select board member did. Thank you.
All right. Okay, Sam, you held this appointment, so I'm going to make a motion to appoint Freddie to, let's do it one at a time, in case there's a difference.
Okay, I'll move to appoint Freddie Gillespie to the Open Space Preservation Commission, term to expire June 30th, 2031.
Second.
Who seconded?
Second.
All right, all in favor of appointing Freddie to a term of 5 years to the Open Space Commission? All in favor? All opposed? Okay, now let's do stewardship.
I'll move to appoint Freddie Gillespie to the Stewardship Committee, term to expire June 30th, 2027.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, all opposed? So 2, 3. Okay, before we go on with that one, so Andrew, AP, AD, why did you vote differently on that one versus open space?
Because I think Joyce made some good points, and also the whole discussion about consolidating these two committees, I think is something that's a little more complicated than it seems at a surface level. I mean, as I understand it, right, the primary focus of the stewardship committee is the care for the Bricknick Hill Conservation Plan, right? Which is, important. And I can't say, my concerns, I shared a lot of the same concerns you had about the Open Space Preservation Commission. I don't think the Stewardship Committee is similar in its kind of policy-making, role. I understand that, there was a disagreement, and I think it is good that it all kind of got worked out about with the 120 Turnpike situation. So, I can completely understand why, like, the Stewardship Commission would say, we want, the other town boards to really consider carefully the proximity of that to Bricknick Hill. So, anyway, I would be willing, first off, this is also a shorter term, all right? So that's why I voted the way I did.
AP?
I'd say I agree with what Andrew said in terms of the difference between stewardship and open space. If it was a 2-year term, maybe I would have been more for open space. I think, Freddie, we had some of the same issues, that other people have brought up, but I think I would have been maybe willing to give a 2-year probationary period, if you want to call it that, but unfortunately 5 years was too long.
So the issues that I specifically raised, and these Freddie and I talked about them, these are things that happened that everyone saw, so I don't think you should call these personal shots. I like Freddie Gillespie a lot, I know what she's done with Stone, really were as part of open space. So I'd be willing to entertain another motion to vote on stewardship. I will change my vote on stewardship given what you two said and what Joyce just said. So I would do that if...
Procedural question, Kathy. This is the Open Space Reservation Commission seat on stewardship. So if, in fact, Ms. Gillespie is not on Open Space Commission, I don't think we have a seat on stewardship. There are 3 at-large members, Concom rep, and Open Space rep.
Is there an at-large slot?
So is your committee full?
Oh. No, there's 2 spots open. No, there isn't, sorry.
Is your stewardship full? Is every seat taken?
Every seat is taken, and Sam is correct that there's one designated seat for the Open Space Commission that Freddie has fulfilled since the beginning. And then a couple years ago, when the discussion about consolidating the 2 came up before, there were some changes to the committee because we had a recreation seat we couldn't fill, and so everything else is at large.
So 4 at large, 1...
3 at large.
3 at large?
Oh, 3 at large.
3 at large, recreation or conservation, and open space. Because that's what's on the town website.
Yeah, that's correct. Conservation Commission is a voting member, right? So that it's 3 at large. Yeah, correct.
Kevin is conservation.
Correct.
Look, this is a ad hoc committee, right? Not a bylaw committee.
Yep. So we could change it.
If I may, Kathy, the reason I voted no right now is because we want to look at this. I think that we should take a look at this soon, see if we can rewrite something that makes sense and think about our consolidation effort I don't want to lose Freddie. I think that there's a space here. I just think we need to think about how we want these to clean up as one of our goals, and then bring that forward, hopefully sooner than later, to start to try to drive this.
We can plan on doing that. I don't think that that proposal is going to be supported by either group. It wasn't last time, and it was pretty overwhelmingly not supported. So it'll still be our decision to do that. That'd be one way to resolve this, to try to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish, and keep Freddie on that committee, that combined committee. So we can do it that way, but I don't know how to get around this tonight, given what Sam just said, as far as trying to keep Freddie on stewardship. So who are the three people on stewardship? It's you, it's Brett Peters.
It's Brett Peters and Kat McKee.
And none of them are on open space, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Okay, I'm looking for suggestions here.
Why don't we just
table
table this and
Okay.
pick this up at a future meeting?
Kat, would you like to be on open space?
If she wants to talk. We got your email.
It's not the same.
Okay.
It's not too late to make this right, and I heard everything you said, and I understand what you mean, and I hear you, that it's difficult sometimes with certain people, but it's the passion that's obviously causing some of the stress, and I think she's heard exactly what your concerns are, and there's a chance to turn this around and not lose a volunteer. We can't afford to lose this volunteer. We've tried to share that, but we hear what your concerns are, so let her be part of the solution. That's going to be a win-win for everybody. You don't want this on your record saying you've denounced another volunteer. That's a really bad look, and she's here offering her efforts to help solve the problem. So let's approach this differently and not be a, no, you can't, but yes, you can, and let's find a way through it. If I need to, I can resign from the stewardship committee. She can have my spot immediately, and we can work through it that way. But just please find a way, a different way than you've done things in the past. I strongly encourage you to try. If it doesn't work out, you'll have other avenues to work it out, and just give a chance, please. Thank you for hearing.
All right, so it sounds like we're going to table this for now because we can't solve the stewardship problem with the structure we had. Everybody agree?
Yes.
AD?
Yes.
Okay, I just can't see you. Okay, Tim?
Yeah.
Sam? AD? Okay, so
the vote stays as is.
So we have voted 5-0 not to appoint Freddie to open space. That's what we've done. That vote stands for now. We have not voted on the appointment to stewardship because we can't because of the fact that she's the open space representative, so it won't work. So we've tabled that appointment.
Okay, so the 2-3-0 vote.
That vote is negated because it doesn't work. Well, that would work because it was negative. So
right.
So
So
I'm
you should
going to make
take
a
another-
motion to undo the vote for stewardship. It's not probably a legal term, but to undo that vote.
But this is the slot that is the open space.
Yeah, but we voted against it, so I'm trying to get that negative vote not done so that we can consider what to do going forward. So right now we said no to that one too.
We just did it. She can't fill the spot.
We voted no on both.
Correct. Why don't we just
Leave it the way it is, and then we'll take it up again.
leave it and we'll take it up at the next meeting?
Okay. Okay. Okay, so we are going to continue this discussion at the next meeting. Okay, thank you for coming. We heard everything you said, and we appreciate you. All right. All right, something a lot more mundane, office hours, select board. So Tim, how much business did you have last week?
I had 0, and
So rumor has you'd like to get rid of it completely?
I would like to get rid of it completely. I want to be able to connect with the town in ways that make sense, but I've gone to a number of these. I think I've had a collective 2 people visit me in all of my office hours. And I brought my kids this past week, and I went to the playground, and I invited people in the kinder group to come bring their kids and meet me on the playground. So I thought that that was a way to get families to come out, but 6 o'clock on a Tuesday is rough to get kids anywhere. It's fighting with dinner time. this isn't working. I think we need to completely rethink how office hours are approached.
Okay, Sam?
My experience has been similar, not quite as bad, but typically 2 or 3 people, often the same suspects show up. But I think it's a useful thing to have, frankly, just for the standpoint that it's an opportunity for people to come talk. And again, I think it's a bad sign to say we're not going to do it. So there may be better ways to do it. I'm certainly open to that. But I think some mechanism for open door public comment to select board members is an important function that we ought to preserve.
All right, so you want to keep it, Sam, let's get rid of it. Andrew?
I think we should keep it, but maybe we can move it to Zoom because, so like this incident last week where, you know, to get here at 6 o'clock, I needed to leave work a little bit earlier. I got on the train, which was then a disabled train. And then, so I got here late. It's like I left work early to sit on a train that had a huge problem. And then I got back to Southborough at 10 minutes left in this, and then no one came anyway. So if that had been Zoom, also, you know, a thing I've thought about, does Zoom mean people who have nothing to do with the town could Zoom in? I mean, we could at least, like, if someone did that and they weren't a resident, you can just kick them out, you know? You'd still be able to make sure that. So that's just something to consider. I mean, I don't mind sometimes if you go. One thing I found is that if you have an office hours in person where you go and it's lightly attended, at least it's also an opportunity for you, because if you do it Tuesday night, you know, people are still working. I can check in with Mark or Vanessa if there's something that I have on my mind.
Well, to me, that is the beauty of it, is the 2 people, there's not a quorum, you can talk, catch up, you can talk to Vanessa. There's people here that night, it's the late night for the townhouse, so you can get other things done. You're just not going to get done what you came to get done. AP?
So I think we certainly should keep office hours. I would structure it around events. So like I was just wanting, like Wednesday, July 1st, 6 to 8, family fun run night at Neary. All right, so we set up a table, talk to your select board members for an hour, and people are there. Like, go to the people, you know, summer nights or summer concert series.
And what you're saying is you got to go to them. Correct. Like Sam goes to, Sam gets a steady stream on transfer station, right?
Yeah, do office hours at the transfer station, or, you know, I think that's the.
Yeah, I'm saying something very, very similar. You know, especially, quite honestly, too, office hours mean I miss time with my kids. So that's why I brought them. They were here. I can do both. And, you know, my wife came along. She was able to watch the kids at the same time. So I wasn't distracted if somebody didn't show up and want to talk. You know, we spend a lot of time doing this. I want to try to be a parent that's available as well and mix the 2 together.
Yeah. 6 o'clock is a pretty bad time.
There's some people who don't do Zoom. I mean, I like the Zoom idea. Maybe hybrid office hours, have one person here. And,
that limits you, though.
Others.
It limits you to like a Wi-Fi connection or some kind of thing. So, you know, depending on.
I think Sam's saying you have one in person, one instead of doing 2 people at the same time, you do one and one.
Like this meeting, yeah, I'd be happy to show up here. And
I think it's also like the food truck's a perfect example. I had a lot of conversation with people that would ask me questions, right? I mean, we could have just put that online. That
see, there again, you got to worry about a quorum too. You know, we had 4 down there. That Tim, you may have been there, I didn't see, but at least 4 were there. So you got to watch that too. But I still think going to people is probably the better way to get this done, because I've already said I think it's a waste. I agree with Tim. I've just got better things to do than sit here and twiddle my thumbs when, and then have people that show up that know us already, know how to reach us. They don't have to come to that. They know exactly how to get hold of us. So I do think we all 5 work. I do think there are better ways to try to communicate. People are just busy. You know, this is just the world we live in. So the fact that they're not knocking down our doors, we shouldn't take it personally, but I just think it's a misuse of our time.
I like Faf's idea of pick the events going on and set up a table.
I mean, especially events that you're going to go to anyway, and you just say, hey, we're going to advertise that, you know, for the first hour that I'm going to be at this event, I'm going to be at anyway. Come over and talk.
Okay, so then you just have 2 people sit there and the other 3 stay away, right? If they're there, so just go talk. Andrew?
I don't have really strong feelings about this. I'll just go with what the rest of the group wants.
I'm not wedded to it, but when I heard what Tim's comment was, I went, Ditto. So.
I think Mark got the worst of that one because he was still around when I was leaving, so.
Take the good with the bad, that's fine.
So try to pick an event, at least one event per month that we're going to have 2 people show up for and advertise it.
Yeah, I think when an event's happening, we try to do it for when an event's happening. Wintertime will be hard. I think that's when we maybe come back to
Zoom or
something else. But through the summer things.
At the transfer station with Coca. And
Well, I know for a fact that Sam got a whole lot of credit for what he's done over these years. We can't go into every meeting he goes to, but sitting up there Saturday after Saturday, and making a list of what people say. There are people that I'm pretty sure voted for Sam because of the effort he makes at that transfer station. So he got some
I
credit.
got some good ideas there too, and you can funnel his comments back to the department people who are, I think, generally very responsive to what they hear.
Okay, so have we agreed we're going to reformat this and try to go to the residents, pick events that we think would be appropriate to have a table for 1 or 2 to sit there, and we can rotate too if we have to. We got lots of events coming up in 27 that we described tonight. So everybody's okay with that?
Sure.
Okay, so we're not going to set a schedule tonight then because we don't know what events. Andrew, Edie, you're okay with that? Tim, you're okay with that?
Yep.
Sam?
Yes.
AP? Okay, all right. Moving on. Okay, Sam, you want to discuss the next one?
Yes, thanks. Wastewater Study Committee is working on a district improvement financing plan, and we're actually trying to get this in place enough so we can take a proposal to define the district area at fall town meeting potentially. And part of that is to have some financial analysis around the process to look at the parcels that might be included and come up with some estimates of what economic development might occur on those parcels and how that might ultimately then turn into a process that can help fund the development of wastewater after the fact. Of course, we need the front-end development, but also during the operation of the system, you can actually divert incremental tax revenues to pay for some of the costs of the borrowing for it. And so as part of that process, we've been talking with Mass Development about using some of their consulting resources to take the first steps in terms of that financial analysis. And they've got consultants who for about $30,000 can help us get that at least rolling to the point where we can use some of that later this year. And if we can find the money to do it before June 30th here, and get that started, and encumber those funds by then. So it turns out the Economic Development Committee budget has enough money in there to do that because they didn't have the staffing that they anticipated, and they didn't actually have the services that they expected to pay for. So there's money in there to do that. And so the ask is that the board approves bottom line spending out of the EDC budget for $30K to allow that project to proceed short term here. So that's what's going on.
All right, so let me ask a couple questions first. So right now, the Wastewater Study Committee does intend to bring forth an article at special town meeting in the fall to try to get this DIF approved, correct?
So the DIF area, there's 2 pieces. One is the area in town that would be affected by this. The current thinking is it goes along Route 9 pretty closely with a bulge at the west end and the east end where the...
So you're just trying to get the area approved, that's step 1?
Area is step 1. It turns out the process is, according to state law, you can define the area separately from the final plan that includes all the details about the system design and build and cost and all those kind of things. And so you can do it in 2 pieces. And the value of doing it earlier is that you set the baseline for the assessed values earlier, and so there's more incremental tax revenue ultimately from the system that you can actually tap part of. The other part goes back into the general fund. Part of it goes to pay for the system. And again, the percentages there are something that would be part of the final DIF plan. That comes later. So we don't have to specify all those details later. But we can define the area now. And town council has opined that you can do it in 2 parts. So that's the goal, is to define the area. And then have enough of the financial stuff done that we can be fairly articulate about what the opportunity is going to look like in terms of incremental tax revenue.
So I think you've got a very heavy lift.
Yes.
Convincing. It's a majority vote or 2/3 vote?
Majority vote.
Even majority, because it seems to me, and again, maybe I make this too simple, that you're just taking money from one pocket and putting it in the other. So it's money you would have had anyway, and now you're trying to segregate that. But I'm going to be open-minded as far as the discussions go. What I am interested in is what I think the study might do, which is truly quantify what the benefit of a real wastewater treatment plant would be as far as bringing in new desirable businesses. So it truly would increase revenue we wouldn't get otherwise. That's, to me, that's the key of this whole thing. And so if this study would be able to project that, I'd be interested in seeing that, because I don't see how you get much, traction without that kind of information.
That's right, exactly. And mass development consultants, they tell us, have that experience and can at least start that process and give us some ideas, like parcel by parcel, what they think could be developed there.
Well, start or have it done for town meeting, special town meeting.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay, they can't, I mean, if we were to vote to allocate the money, they've got time to get this done and truly finished and presented before.
That's what they tell us.
Okay, 'cause what's our date, October? That we're gonna look at in a minute, October for the special town meeting, so it's like October 11th?
Wouldn't they have to do it in the next 14 days?
What?
The work?
We encumber the funds, and then they've got 3 months basically there to do the work. July, August, September.
What is it?
17th.
17th, okay, so October 17th, so we're gonna talk about a second. All right, so that's fine.
So 3 months to do the work. Again, it is tight. And it's
Well,
not,
I think the concept is fine. Mass Development has a real estate a grant program specifically for this that covers corridor studies and if specifically that we missed out on one stop. And I'm not for moving money without town meeting approval. $30,000 is a lot of money. If we want to put it on fall town meeting and let them approve it and make sure that they're okay with it, ideally, reaching out to Mass Development and saying, hey, we missed the one-stop thing, but I think it's the same people, the house doctor consultants, I think are the same people, but they pay for it as part of this grant. So it's, I'd rather do it for free.
I understand.
I thought maybe it's a different grant. I thought you couldn't do the grant because you weren't far enough along in the process. You had to actually have the property identified.
That was a different grant.
Okay. But what's the difference between this and what we're doing with the police with bottom line spending? This is just taking a budget already approved, taxes raised, and saying we're gonna bottom line spend it, it's gonna come out of salary. So why is that any different than what we just talked about?
We didn't approve.
We did a piece of it. We didn't do the drone for a different reason.
But
we did it with fire, we did it with DPW.
The other stuff was small. This is $30,000 for this, and the drone was $105,000.
But we did it with fire, which was more than 30. We did it with DPW, which was more than 30. We've already done 2 other ones, so I'm trying to make sure
I
that.
don't know what capital item we approved out of DPW or them that was this large.
No, DPW, specifically, we've already bottom line
Yeah,
spent
because
approved.
he had snow removal. I mean, there's a
He had
difference.
more than that.
There's a difference between letting people bottom line spend and letting people spend because they had stuff in their budget that was, an emergency. They could have gone to reserve fund, but they're going to bottom line spend because it's, they have the money in their budget. Versus something that wasn't in the budget at all, that is a brand new item that should go to town meeting for authority.
DPW had more things besides snow in theirs. They did have snow. There's more than that. Fire was an emergency. His other stuff tonight was small, but it was an emergency. So anyway, I'm just trying to make sure we're comparing apples to apples. Okay, so you do not want to do this, right?
I want to do it, but I want to wait for the grant cycle.
Okay.
I am prepared to vote in favor of what Mr. Stevens is trying to do.
Okay. Tim?
I think that this is in the spirit of the EDC's work and charter, so I think the funds transferring over fits in the right spirit. I do heed FAF's warning here about the approval, but I do think that this one's above threshold to approve.
And Kathy, I understand Mr. Pfaff's concern as well, certainly. And what I will be sure to do is to confirm that we actually can get this done in sufficient time to be useful for a fall town meeting presentation. If they come back and say, sorry, we don't have the capacity to do it, then I think we...
Well, I think that's the key. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's not going to be done for that, then I don't know why you're doing it.
It's our understanding at this point that that's the case, but I'll work hard to reconfirm that that's the expectation.
Okay, so then I'll make a motion to approve the request to bottom line spend EDC for the 30K for the study, pending Sam's confirmation that the study will be complete in time to be used for the fall town meeting.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? So 4-1 passed. Okay.
Thank you.
Speaking of town meeting. Okay, so we got to.
I'm sorry, did we, I just, based on what we talked about earlier, I just want to make sure that was considered for bottom line spending for that.
It was.
It was, fine,
That was
thank you.
Okay, so we've got 2 proposed dates for both the fall regular special town meeting and the annual town meeting. And I'm saying regular because that doesn't include theory. We think that's gonna be a whole separate meeting. We don't know when because we don't know what time it is. So the fall would be just the normal stuff that we try to do in the fall. So there's, on the 7th, we're gonna have an agenda to start listing those things. It's got, CPA's got, our CBC's got a lot of articles. They've got projects. It's not administrative, it's real projects. So there's 3 or 4 things that we've already talked about that would be on that warrant, and Sam's wastewater committee dip would be one of those things, right, Sam?
Yes.
Okay, so what are our 2 dates? October 17th?
October 17th for the special town meeting
March.
and March 20th.
Okay, and the days of the week of each of those?
They're
are?
both Saturdays.
They're both Saturdays. So the building's clear on those 2 days, and a conversation has been had with Travis and schools
And with the
in
schools,
Chelsea?
yes.
Okay, so we have tried to thread the needle between sports seasons, so that, again, we can try to attract more people. You know, one of the reasons we didn't have very good attendance at this last annual town meeting was a big sports day for kids. So these 2 dates seem to be as good as we can get. Now, they're both Saturdays. Paul Semino called me, and he said he wanted to weigh in on this. He said, well, Kathy, you know, the bylaw says annual town meeting has to be on Saturday. It does not. So you can do that on Monday too if you wanted to. And he thought it was a little strange to have the special on Saturday. So I said, okay, and listen, I'll report that to the select board. Mr. Haggerty thinks that Saturday is a better date. He says we save money. For that, it's easy for him to put it together because, you know, school's not in session, et cetera. He's not trying to do it the night of school. So his vote is for the Saturdays. So what do you guys think?
Easier and cheaper for Jim. I mean, I think we've tried both and haven't really had a difference between the 2 of them, so.
That's true. We've tried a lot of things.
If the deciding factor is cheaper, and I don't know.
We had 200 people this last time out of 77,000 something.
We asked schools before, and Chelsea, from what I remember, didn't have an opinion one way or the other for the feedback she's gotten.
She, maybe not, but she does think trying to thread that needle between sports seasons is important. So, I mean, you have said a lot of things about trying to be more family friendly. So what do you think, Tim? Is Monday night better than Saturday? Is Saturday better than Monday night?
I mean, they each have their own problems. Saturday might be easier to plan for a babysitter or something to have both parents for people that need to do that, or potentially bring the kids and split the day and figure it out. I think if there's no sport and other town obligations that day, it might be easier to try to do it on a Saturday.
Yeah, I think Monday's tough to bring kids with bedtime.
Of course it is.
It's a tough time. Kids are very needy. My kids are very needy in that window of time that town meeting starts in, and then at that point they're in bed. So people have to leave. I think I'd lean the Saturday from my purview.
You 3 all have school-age kids, so I think what you think about trying to get people with children there is important.
And Kathy, we've heard previously from seniors that daytime is better than nighttime.
Yeah.
So it's another consideration.
Give it a shot.
Okay, so everybody agrees on these tentative dates for
What was
both
the
the.
second date, sorry?
So it is March 30th for the annual.
March 20th.
March 20th for the annual and October 17th for the special.
So the October 17 again is not for.
Not for schools, they're not gonna be ready.
Okay, I think a fall special town meeting that doesn't have the school should just be on a Monday That's my view.
So hold that thought for a second.
We've done.
We've
before, and
checked
it's been
Jewish
pretty-
holidays for October.
It's worked pretty well.
Yeah, there's nothing on this one.
You sure?
For the fall special time meeting, we targeted as like a 10 to 12 article meeting where 5 of them are on a consent agenda.
We've had very efficient town meetings
We have.
lately, right? We really have. So we gotta try to keep up the trend here. So Mark's checking just to make sure we're not interfering with Jewish holidays in October. And then you better check Passover too for March, just to make sure it could be early.
And without schools, we feel we definitely need a fall special town meeting. Those items couldn't wait till annual.
The CPC projects are pretty important. We've got golf course irrigation. Have you seen what the golf course looks like right now?
Actually haven't, but
It's not looking good. Golf course irrigation, the splash pad, dog park. Kristen, what else?
Wasn't that listening, sorry.
Sorry. What else is CPC bringing forth at the fall special town meeting besides?
Right now, the irrigation, although there's some discussion on whether or not that should push until the annual town meeting, we'll know more later this month. Recreation, right now.
Microphone, please. That's right.
Sorry,
Secretary Kristen Lavault, Recreation Commission. So right now there's the irrigation at the golf course, but that may be moved to the spring annual town meeting. That's not off the plate. We'll know by the end of this month. Likewise for the recreation, right now we are intending on resubmitting the application by the end of the month with some updates to the Fayetteville Park.
Okay.
Not finalized yet, but that's the hope. And then historical, I have a sense that because the work that they want to do on the cemetery, the tower in the cemetery, overlaps with some of the work that the new cemetery committee may be doing, that it seems that might likely be coming off the table.
So that's it, those three?
And then we're working with trails, so that's still the question mark as well. However, we have by the end of the month where we want applications kind of updated so we can start the cycle and get things finalized in time for the warrant, so we'll have a good update at the end of June.
Yeah, she said rec, but she's also the
and CPC, sorry.
representative of CPC is what she was. Okay, so we can always cancel it if we don't need it, but we're just trying to get the date set so that we don't run into what we've run into the last couple of years where we had a problem with the date because we interfered with something else going on in Trotter. So we were asked by Jim Haggerty to get this set so that we know we've got a building set aside for this. So we can always cancel it when we go over the list. It's not, it doesn't warrant it.
Fall, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So we think October 17th right now.
Yeah, I would just say, when it does come to that, if we could have a discussion, and again, we'll know more by the end of June, but there is a grant that's in play potentially for the recreation, so I want to keep that in mind if you start talking about shifting and what that might mean for that grant, which could be very favorable for the town.
Okay, so we think it's October, if we're gonna do it, we think it's October 17th. So you're saying we might need to change that date because of this grant?
No, I thought you were talking about canceling, so I was just saying.
Well, if we end up not having a need for it, we would, but we're trying to get it on the calendar so people can plan. So we're trying to get people
that
to.
as consideration when you're weighing pros and cons of having it or not having it, that, and we'll know more again by the end of the month, but that's potentially a big consideration for us.
And we will definitely talk to CPC. Okay, so October 17th is a Saturday. Andrew, you want that one moved to a Monday?
Yes.
Okay, so prior Monday, next Monday?
Can't do the prior because it's Columbus Day.
Okay, so we won't.
So the 12th.
That's Heritage Day, okay.
I mean, these dates we are kind of penciling them in, right?
Yes,
Well,
we're trying to make sure we've got the building locked down for one thing.
And no competition of town and school things, so we're literally gonna affect schedules one way or the
Yes,
other.
I'm just afraid to move this, given the work that Mark's done to say these dates work for the school calendar. And you've had you've had Travis weigh in, and Chelsea Malinowski, who's got kids doing all these sports, weigh in. So I hesitate. What's that?
Jim's the one that did the late.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of work to give us these 2 dates. So I hesitate to arbitrarily change this, given what we've been told.
I'm fine with Saturday.
Look, I'm not gonna. I'll be there. So.
Right,
And
so
I think actually, to that point, there's a lot oh, there's this, just show up, you know? That's my view.
Okay, so let's, anybody have a problem with the 17th other than Andrew slightly, right? Okay, so October 17th was special and March 20th for the annual, which is also Saturday. Okay, all right? Okay, so someone make a motion to lock in these dates. Andrew?
All right, I move that we schedule a special town meeting for October 17th, 2026, and a annual town meeting date of March 20th, 2027.
Second.
All in favor? 5-0. All right, that's it for the regular session. Okay,
For that, Mark, could you have an invite sent out to all town emails, all boards and meetings on the town meeting date?
Yes.
Just to get it on everybody's calendar.
set the time? All right, so 10 o'clock on both of
10
them?
a.m. That worked pretty well last time.
Sure.
Yeah, and hopefully we're done by 2 on the special, maybe 3 on the annual, or vice versa, whatever. And then there's been discussion too about prohibiting use of town fields on those dates, so we can get to see what Rec thinks about that. I know, you talked to Travis about, somebody's talked to Travis about it.
I had mentioned it, and I think the conversation was, well, look, if schedules, I think, are being set soon, so let's get these dates on the calendar now, and then see if there can be accommodations made in the sports schedules.
I think that's the whole point of trying to make this more accessible, is not to have that conflict. So I think that needs to be like something that, unless there's like a championship game or something that has to happen at that date, an encouragement to say like, definitely try to avoid this date, so that way parents don't have to have the conflict, and at least one person could attend.
Yeah. Mark, I think if we have to have an actual policy statement or whatever it is, memo that says, you know, town facilities are closed on these days. Whatever, you know, obviously run it by Travis and whoever else might be impacted by it, but I think I'd be pushing for something like that.
Okay, so let's continue the discussion. All right, okay, so, on to executive session. No, sorry, I forgot that. I skipped over it. Okay, so, long story short, because Al is not on the select board anymore, he was our rep on the Affordable House Trust, and the bylaw says it has to be a select board member, it's state law that says it. The other 4 are, appointments by the select board, but there has to be a select board member on Affordable House Trust. So, I think it's a shame that we can't get Al back on it, but it's a bylaw committee, so it'd be a little work to figure that one out too. Okay, so, how many volunteers do we have in the select board to take Al's big shoes?
I volunteer as a last resort. I'm happy to defer to somebody
So I'm
else.
looking at you.
Somebody else wants to do it.
There is a vacant role on Affordable House Trust as well.
No, there's not.
Really?
It says-
As of June 2nd, they're right here.
Well, there's not.
Well, I guess
because
that, oh, it might just be the
David
select
Joyner,
board one.
Paul,
I
Doug,
think it's a select
and
board.
Ellen. So it's in.
It just doesn't have it as like the select board representative.
All right. Okay, so there is 4 already there. This is 5th. Okay, so who's raising their hand?
I mean, I'm kind of interested, but
Okay,
I think,
well,
but I think
good.
Sam, but I think Sam would also do a good job.
I'm happy to defer, Andrew, if you really want to do it.
So you guys?
I kind of just like giving them ideas and then letting them run with it.
This is a good group.
Yeah.
They know, and they've got a lot of talent, a lot of background in this, so it's a good group.
I mean, it's only a 1 year, right? Because it's 2027.
Is that it?
I think
It's on
all
here.
boards are 1 year.
2027.
6:30 of 2027 is what it says vacant on
Okay.
line.
All right. I'm willing to do a 1 year.
Okay. All right.
So,
Go for it.
I'm gonna run it.
I didn't think anybody else raised their hand, so Sam was going to do it. You know, he does. Andrew, you've got a lot to do with the Tricentennial Committee, and I got to help on that one too. So we've all got our plates full. And you've got the school. So you sure you want to do this?
No? But
Okay. Well, who? You guys decide.
Sam, do you want to do it this year and maybe I do it the year after?
I'm going to do anything with it, so.
All right. Maybe we'll do that.
Okay, he first.
Sam,
I move that we nominate Sam Stivers to be the select board member to the Affordable Housing Trust.
second.
For for a
This-
one-year term.
AP seconded, and all in favor? Tim, your hand up? I just can't see you very well.
There's a giant screen that has us on it.
Well, okay, sorry, I'm not looking at the screen, okay. Oh, dogs, sorry. Okay, all right, so that's done. All right, now we'll go down, all right? Okay, so the board is going to enter executive session per MGL, chapter 38, section 21, and not return to open session for the following. Number one, review and approve executive session minutes from May 19, 2026, and June 2nd, 2026, which is exemption 7, and 2, to discuss the memorandum of agreement with the police details with local 167 and local 523, exemption 3, as the chair has determined that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the town's position. Can someone make a motion to go into executive session?
I move to go into executive session.
Second.
Okay, so this is roll call vote. Sam?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Cook is aye. Thank you very much. So gentlemen, we have to say goodnight to you.
Recording stopped.
Were you guys here for anything in particular?
Yes.
Which part?
The